Warning, the following podcast contains adult language, themes, and situations. Also, the film we're about to talk about is going to be spoiled thoroughly. Listener discretion is advised. Enjoy this show.
Why make a follow-up to a controversial film that even director Werner Herzog didn't think should be named after it, since they shared little to nothing in common? Well, because without that established IP, we'd never get a chance to see Nicolas Cage smoke crack in a mainstream film. So get ready for a bumpy, drug-filled romp through the streets of post-Katrina New Orleans as we break down an unnecessary follow-up with a ridiculously long name, Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans.
Okay, let's run.
I'm like a prickly pear.
What do you say we cut the chit-chat? A-hole! Porker, how'd it get burned? How'd it get burned? How'd it get burned? Hey, have you ever been dragged to the sidewalk and beat until you pissed blood?
Welcome to One Cage at a Time, the show where we break down every single Nicolas Cage movie, one film at a time. Here are your hosts, Patrick, Vince, and Nigel.
After a back injury, good cop turned bad Terrence McDonagh is having a rough go of it. His painkiller addiction has spiraled out of control, he owes money all over town, and the only person who can pull him back from the edge of destruction is his prostitute girlfriend.
Let's meet the stars of the film.
Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans reteams Nick with his ghostwriter sweetheart, Eva Mendes, stars two-time Academy nominee Michael Shannon, Pimp My Ride's Xzibit, the always great and other things besides this movie, Jennifer Colidge, the legendary and severely underutilized Val Kilmer, and the only man I want visiting my grandma in a nursing home, Academy Award-winning actor Nicolas Kim Coppola, better known as Nicolas Cage.
It's time to go over some of the finer details.
Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans was released on November 20th, 2009. Had a budget of $25 million and it made 10.6. So definitely a flop.
Back in the red a little bit.
Even the original was, it was super controversial at the time, and I don't think it made back its budget either. I don't even know why, so it developed a reputation, Bad Lieutenant did, because it's a really messed up movie. And it was NC-17. It was one of the first NC-17 major releases. So using that name, I think maybe was a detriment. Or I don't, maybe it's the only thing that put it on the radar for some people. I have no idea. I don't know what the logic is. We'll get into it, but there was even Werner Herzog was like, no. We shouldn't call it Bad Lieutenant. As we said, directed by the legendary German director Werner Herzog, who is he's mostly famous for documentaries. He's got the craziest voice ever. Just and then just the way he talks is so flowery, like that. I don't know if you guys saw that nihilist penguin videos. Why does he walk into the interior of Antarctica just to die?
Yeah, I love that. He also has ones talking about how stupid chickens are.
Yeah,
and ones about how the ambient sounds of the jungle are just death on a massive scale. It's just the sounds of all these animals dying around you at all times.
Jesus.
He's kind of like the Leonard Cohen of directors, where it's always goes in a dark place.
I love that penguin one because he's trying to get the penguin naturalists to agree with him that this is a nihilist penguin who's going off to commit suicide, and the guy's just kind of clearly uncomfortable with being no, and then he's just going over there.
Even if we picked him up and brought him back to the beach, he would still just turn around and walk right back to the mountains. I would say most people who don't watch cult classics and go deeper into cinema wouldn't recognize him outside of potentially his acclaimed documentary, The Grizzly Man, which actually was a pretty popular one. I feel like that was maybe his most recognizable documentary that he's made about, I forget his first name, but Treadwell, the guy who spent his whole life trying to conserve the grizzly population. They ended up being eaten by a grizzly, him and his girlfriend. It's a fascinating documentary if you ever have time. Listening to Werner Herzog describe why a man would choose to be eaten by a grizzly bear to save his girlfriend is fascinating. Just listening to the way he describes it. He was also the bad guy in Jack Reacher, which I haven't actually watched Jack Reacher, but I watched a little clip, and I was like, because I was like, Werner Herzog's in this? Is he like a bit part? And I watched and no, he's like the main bad guy who sends out all the other bad guys. And he sounds just as evil as you would expect.
Exactly the same, yeah. He did a good job in that movie.
Oh, you saw it?
Yeah, I watched the first one. Yeah, he did a good job. He's interesting.
And then potentially the most recognizable part that he's ever had as an actor was the Baby Yoda snatcher in The Mandalorian. Yeah. Show me the baby.
Show me the baby.
There's stories of him on the set, like only referring to the puppet as a real thing, like acting completely on and off camera that the Baby Yoda was a real puppet, like a real character. I don't know. A real child.
It seems...
And like chastising the other crew for not treating it with the respect that it should have because it's a little baby.
Please respect the baby.
Show me the child.
It might get into its pod and go into the vast interior of Tatooine. This was written by William N. Finkelstein, who had only done TV cop dramas up to this point. L.A. Law, NYPD Blue, The Good Fight, and Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans is the only film that he's ever made outside of like made-for-TV movies that were related to other TV shows that he was working on. And still to this day, it's the only film that he's ever worked on. Yeah, we'll get into it. But it's shot by Peter Zeitlinger, who only pretty much works with Herzog. He's worked on almost everything that Werner Herzog has ever done. But most recently, he started working with James Franco on some of his post-allegation movies that nobody is watching because, But
I didn't know he was making anything.
He's made a couple movies since the allegations, and they were shot by Peter Zeitlinger. And most recently, we'll get into it in the quick facts, but there was a huge public rift between Werner Herzog and the original film's director, Abel Ferrara, who made King of New York and... of course, the original Bad Lieutenant, but he just, Peter Zeitlinger, just recently shot a film with Abel Ferrara. So, we'll get into it, but they buried the hatchet, Werner Herzog and him. But he has been trying to do for like 10 years, trying to get in a room with Abel Ferrara to explain, like, I did not mean to make you angry for making this film. This was edited by Joe Beanie, who also is almost exclusive to Werner Herzog, but he recently did We Need to Talk About Kevin, American Honey, and You Were Never Really Here, which were fairly like mainstream, bigger type films than what he would normally work on with Werner Herzog. And then the music was by the great Mark Isham, who he scored one of my favorites, The Hitcher, which is this amazing film. It's just a hitchhiker is picked up. It's Rutger Hauer gets picked up by C. Thomas Howell, and he just decides he's gonna try and get this guy to kill him by killing every person around him for the whole rest of the movie. And it's spellbindingly amazing. Go watch The Hitcher, not the remake or the pseudo sequel or whatever the hell that thing was, but the original 80s Hitcher. Oh, so good. Also did the music for Point Break. A River Runs Through It, which he got an Oscar nomination for. Blade, The Mist, The Crazies, which is another one that's one of my faves. Kind of a hidden gem. I don't know why that movie didn't get more buzz than it did. I think it was because it came out like right in the middle of the Walking Dead zombie craze, and I feel like people were kind of over zombies already at that point. But The Crazies is kind of a mix between like 28 Days Later and an actual zombie movie where it's like they just go crazy with rage. And right now, currently creating the music for The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, which is the new Nick Cage movie where he plays himself.
Hell yeah.
So that'll be awesome to see a reteam. Yeah. Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans. I have to say the whole name every time. Has a Rotten Tomatoes score of 86%, 7.2 out of 10 on 154 reviews, which is kind of surprising. That's pretty high for what especially the ending. We'll get into it. We didn't love the ending of the film. I feel like that was the thing that kind of knocks it down from like a 6 or a 7 to
it does
a lower score.
Yeah, same.
Audience score was 57%, so substantially lower than the critics gave it. Metacritic score was 69%.
Nice.
IMDb 6.6 out of 10. I feel like that one's pretty accurate.
Yeah. Still a little too high, but yeah.
And no cinema score, so it wasn't. I feel like it was released to theaters, but I don't think it was released wide enough for a cinema score. But that's pretty mixed. Like Rotten Tomatoes is so much higher. That's one of the big reasons I wanted to include other scores this season, is because Rotten Tomatoes makes it seem like it's a masterpiece when you just look at 8.6 or 86%, which is 7.2, which 7.2 even just feels like, might be giving it a little bit too much. 6.6, I think, is like, I can see that. 6 or 7.
Yeah.
How about a Coppola quick facts?
I'll start with the one we've been teasing. In June 2008, interview with The Guardian, Abel Ferrara, who directed and co-wrote the original Bad Lieutenant, said that finding out his movie was being remade was a horrible feeling, like when you get robbed, and that those involved in this remake should all die in hell. I didn't include it in here, but he was like, I wish everybody involved in it were in a streetcar at the same time and it blew up. I'm like, okay.
Well, he's
Tell us how you really feel.
You're why this country's gone to shit.
People like have values.
Abel Ferrara in a room with Werner Herzog, putting a gun to his head. You piece of shit! Fucking kill you. He also wondered how Nicolas Cage can even have the nerve to play Harvey Keitel, and called screenwriter William N. Finkelstein an idiot. Herzog responded that he had never seen the original and had never heard of Ferrara.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Like, if you're going to make a movie and call it the same name as the other movie, maybe you should watch the movie. I don't know. But, obviously, he's not playing Harvey Keitel's character. He's playing a completely different thing. I don't even know why they called it Bad Lieutenant. I guess we'll get there. In 2018, at the Newcastle International Film Festival, Ferrara said that he had finally met Herzog years after the release of the remake and made peace with him, something Herzog had wanted to do since hearing about Ferrara's outrage. I don't imagine what that conversation was like.
Yeah.
I heard you didn't like my film. You should die in hell, you fucker.
Although the film know who you are.
Never heard of you before. You made my film. I don't know. Although the film was promoted as a remake of Bad Lieutenant during its early production, director Werner Herzog claims that this is not a remake. He says he has never seen the original and therefore does not consider this movie a remake. Additionally, producers seem to have added Bad Lieutenant to the title in order to get better marketing. Whether remake, reimagining, follow-up, or none of the aforementioned, movies are clearly connected by the same basic plot and following a drug-addicted, violent cop during his encounters with crime and sex. I mean, I think we'll get into it, but it was supposed to just be called Port of Call New Orleans.
Yeah.
Which
Sounds
makes
like the
sense.
studio saw that and was like, hey, this is like Bad Lieutenant.
It's produced by the same people who produced the original Bad Lieutenant. According to Herzog, Bad Lieutenant was the title of the original draft screenplay Finkelstein submitted to him. The screenwriter was familiar with the 1992 Abel Ferrara version, but it was only after he gave Herzog a solemn oath that this would not be a remake that Herzog agreed to become involved. Never liking the title Bad Lieutenant and not wanting to confuse the audience, Herzog insisted on renaming the film Port of Call New Orleans. However, producer Edward R. Pressman, who had also produced Ferrara's cult classic, wanted to market the film with the same title. Ultimately, Herzog compromised by agreeing to the combined titles together, Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call New Orleans. Seems unnecessary to me to call this movie is not Bad Lieutenant in the slightest. Bad Lieutenant is so dark and so messed up, and this thing is almost like a comedy compared to that. You know, It's like I read, I had seen American Psycho when I was a kid, and then I read the book later on, and the movie is like a frickin' comedy compared to the book. The book is so dark, and like there's so much more evil stuff that goes on. I can kind of see where he was coming from. The movie was originally set in New York, just like the original Bad Lieutenant, but Nicolas Cage changed the setting to New Orleans to help them after the hurricane. He's apparently a big fan of New Orleans, and he said he was actually scared going to New Orleans, and I think it was because New Orleans is where he kind of faced his demons and ended up going clean, and he had been clean for the most part, I believe, ever since leaving New Orleans, so he was a little scared to come back. Nicolas Cage claims that he was never under the influence of anything throughout the filming, in contrast to leaving Las Vegas, in which he got genuinely drunk to play an alcoholic. At what point is it like you're rewarding people for not actually acting anymore? It's like he's just straight up drunk.
I think he also said I watched that, like, Nicolas Cage breaks down his iconic roles video, which I'm sure you've seen, but he talks about that. Like, in Leaving Las Vegas, they had, like, some other guy who was, like, a consultant on how to act like an alcoholic or something, and he worked with that guy as well. So I guess he had a drunk consultant and got genuinely drunk. Yeah.
I don't know if he did it for every scene, but I feel like he did. He got a little bit drunk for everything. I watched Joe, and there's a scene where he is just snockered on beer, and it feels so genuine that I'm like, I'm pretty positive he was actually drunk. It's like the most realistic drunk I've ever seen on screen. So I think he might have actually been drunk for that. Nicolas Cage ad-libbed and created much of his dialogue, actions, antics, and mannerisms in the movie, to the initial consternation of Finkelstein, the writer of the shooting script, but to the glee of Werner Herzog.
Do it again.
Well, I'll get to some of the scenes where he just made up his whole part. But some of them are the best scenes in the entire movie.
Yeah.
Finkelstein later relented, realizing the genius at work with Cage as well as Herzog, and loved the finished film. So things were a little different in the shooting script than they were in the actual movie.
Yeah.
During filming, Nicolas Cage asked the entire set for silence to make a declaration. Once the set had gone silent, Cage pointed to Werner Herzog and proclaimed, "Finally, someone who knows what he is doing." This was in reference to Herzog's method of only filming camera setups that he intended to use in the final film, as opposed to shooting extra setups that he might not even use in the final film. Like coverage and potentially making a film that flows better because of having multiple takes and multiple shots.
Yeah. I got that. I mean, there was a lot of single take shots in this.
There were,
I actually liked that a lot about the movie. It felt different from a lot of movies that you see, which I mean, that's what that was. And Nicolas Cage appreciated that, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm always one of those guys who's kind of like, well, if we're already set up, just throw another camera in there just in case, like, we don't like this angle, I want to go with something else. But at the same time, it's like, that's why you hire a DP, is you're setting up for one specific shot and not setting up tons of shots. I'm assuming that Nick Cage really likes that because he only has to play to one camera, he only has to play to one performance, and also it's faster. It's a hell of a lot faster because you don't have to set up 100 different things. Yeah,
or do multiple takes. Maybe like, oh, maybe this looks different if you do it from this angle, or do it with that in mind. And he's just like, as an actor, I can see how he might just want to be like, no, I just want to do the scene. Like, just let me get in character and do it like the character would do it.
Yeah, I think from like a stage performance style, this works a lot better for actors. And also, you can get yourself up. You can get yourself up for that one scene. And not have to like worry about like, I got to get myself crazy on crack again here in a few minutes or in 3 hours once we set up the next shot. Both Bad Lieutenant and this film were released on November 20th, 1992 and 2009 respectively. So another thing, it's like, you're really, really not selling the fact that you didn't mean to make this a remake. Nicolas Cage and Werner Herzog have strong connections with F.W. Murnau's, I'm sure that's wrong, Murnau's Nosferatu. Cage's performance in Vampire's Kiss was heavily influenced by Max Schreck's in Nosferatu, and Cage's company Saturn Films went on to produce a movie about the making of Nosferatu called Shadow of the Vampire with Willem Dafoe, which I haven't seen, but I really want to watch it.
I watched it as a kid because my dad really liked it. And I was like, I guess my dad likes Nosferatu a lot. Big loves those old horror movies, so I think he really liked it for that. But now I want to see it again as an adult, like having seen Nosferatu and appreciating Willem Dafoe and was it? I think John Malkovich is in it too.
Herzog actually directed a remake of Nosferatu with Klaus Kinski called Nosferatu the Vampire. 1979, which I haven't seen, but I also really want to see that movie. Werner Herzog's take on Nosferatu is going to be fascinating. Suddenly there's just a bunch of iguana close-ups and
shot with GoPros.
With a GoPro. According to director Werner Herzog and Paul Cronin's interview book, some of the most talked about scenes and images in the film were not in the original screenplay by William M. Finkelstein and added by Herzog in pre-production or sometimes on the spot. This includes the ideas for the scenes at the beginning and end of the film with the aquarium, the dancing soul scene, which I have some things to say about, the inclusion of the iguanas, which I also have some things to say about, and the alligator lying on the highway run over, McDonagh's monologue with the silver spoon, and the scene where he brings it to his girlfriend. Their relationship was originally mostly drug-related and sexual, not as romantic as in the final film, which kind of comes across that was what the original intention was here and there, but like they really play up the romance of this crack-addicted lieutenant hanging out with this chunky whore. Some scenes of drugs were actually omitted by Herzog because of his little interest in drug culture. The major change in location from New York, where the screenplay is set, to New Orleans happened because of budget reasons, but also because Herzog wanted it to become a leading character in the film. All in all, the final movie differs, especially in its humorous tone, additional character scenes, and poetic moments from Finkelstein's screenplay. So it's very different from what they originally set out to make. And I think like it must have been dirt cheap to film in New Orleans at that point. They still spent $25 million on this film, but New Orleans versus New York. Yeah. New Orleans post-Katrina versus New York. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The film begins and ends with shots of animals swimming in water. Not only that, but Nick Gomez is the first person seen on screen as well as one of the two people seen at the end of the film. It just felt so forced. We'll get into it, but well. This one I could have put somewhere in the breakdown, but I wanted to talk about it here. Herzog on the hallucinatory scenes with the iguanas. The quote: "There is nothing more wondrous than seeing Nicolas Cage and a lizard together in one shot."
What the fuck does that even mean?
Oh God!
What the fuck does that even
Nicolas
mean?
Cage and a lizard. My dreams have come true. And I think we are going to go... and I think we're going to go long, and the producers are going to make me lose my iguanas. And if they make me lose my iguanas, I feel like I can't be a filmmaker anymore.
Yeah.
They're the worst shots in the whole
I know.
film.
I really felt like this is Werner Herzog wanted to have. I
want to test my GoPro. Let's see
it
what
was.
happens.
Yeah, it was like fourth wall breaking. Like even when the iguana like attacks the camera when he puts it up in its fucking
Bearded
face.
dragon.
Oh yeah, the bearded dragon.
Yeah.
It's okay. I get he does nature documentaries, but I don't know why this movie has two scenes where it devolves into nature documentaries.
Yeah, there's the weird alligator shot that goes on for way too long, and it's like right up on its eyeball, and then the frickin' I think it's a 2-minute straight scene of close-ups on iguanas with a wide-angle lens. That like I have seen so many things online while researching this film of people being like, those are my favorite moments in the film, and I'm like, why?
Well,
I guess
when
because
you look
they're
at
the
their-
only memorable thing out of the film.
Yeah. Also, when you look at their geo info, they're based out of Florida, so makes sense.
It's time for the main event. Here comes the breakdown. Act 1, the setup.
Our story begins in a flooded jail shortly after Hurricane Katrina devastated the city of New Orleans. Snakes swim through filthy water while a noir-sounding version of the Unsolved Mysteries theme plays in the background.
It totally sounds like Unsolved Mysteries, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. A man in a trench coat walks into frame. Tonight on Unsolved Mysteries, we find out who gives a shit about Bigfoot. Update: nobody gives a shit about Bigfoot, so fuck them. That's just for Nigel.
Thank you.
R.I.P., but not R.I.P. on.
Yeah.
He's still alive.
Everybody thought he was dead forever.
Yeah, that was back in the days when you could just say, he died. I don't want to make
Yeah.
these videos anymore. And then
Brett's
everybody would
guy's
believe
gone. And then he shows up 20 years later.
20 years later.
it. Does a video every
Bury
2-3
him
years.
from a pile of cans, beer cans.
Yeah.
We next see a couple of dicks walk into the destroyed jail cell. You guys get what I did there? You see what I did there? Couple of dicks.
Couple of dicks.
I don't get it.
Dicks, Nigel. Detectives.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
This fucking guy was stepping on our jokes. One of the detectives is played by the legendary Val Kilmer, who is barely in this film for some reason, and it's an absolute shame. The other is, well, you know who he is. Nicolas Cage, a.k.a. Terrence McDonagh, no relation to H.I. McDonagh, helps his partner Stevie track down some incriminating photos of some guy named Duffy's wife that were left in this precinct locker before the city was evacuated.
Do you think that was intentional, by the way? Do you think they called him McDonagh?
I don't know.
It was probably how
wondering.
Finkelstein wrote the name into the script, and then
It's
they
like
cast Nicolas Cage.
McDonagh is how he says his name in this one, but it's McDonagh in Raising Arizona. I don't know.
Yeah.
Spelled
And even,
completely different.
Yeah, completely different. And then even like his captain says it in a weird way.
Yeah.
It's like
Nobody knew how to pronounce it.
It's fucking weird.
McDonald? No, but without the D.
McDonald's?
McDonald.
McDonald's.
Stevie asked for the photos and Stuffy asked him to get them, but Terrence says he'll hold on to them, then says,
Fuck Duffy. Just fuck him. Fuck all of them.
so I guess he tends to use the photos as blackmail. I'm still unclear after a couple watches because this never comes up again. That's it.
Yeah.
You don't even hear the guy's fucking name again. There's no Duffy.
Polaroids of this guy's wife, I guess, to show that he's a pervert. Maybe, I don't know.
I think it was like they were trying to set up that these guys are already shady from the very beginning, but like. Like, I guess that's what happens when you just improv all the lines is like things don't come back ever again.
Yeah. He notices a police report that I guess alludes to the fact that there might be someone left in the jail, and they head downstairs where they find a guy named Chavez. These scumbags laugh at the guy who's up to his neck in shit water filled with snakes, and as we later find out, dead bodies. Here's a fun quick fact. So according to Werner Herzog, over 2,400 cans of decaf coffee had to be used to make the water appear to be river water in the jail scene. They had first attempted to use paint, but it proved to be too toxic. Who would have fucking thought? Then the production company used regular coffee, but wouldn't you know it, the actor ended up absorbing that shit through his skin, which couldn't be good for you. Just all that fucking caffeine.
So that means that he's still absorbing it. It's just decaf now. So
yeah, it's just decaf now.
It's better for you.
It's better.
So cut with strychnine or whatever.
What the hell? So in the entire history of movie production, they haven't come up with a better way to make brown water than decaf coffee.
I don't know.
Like there's no dye they could have used or something. That just seems... I don't know.
I saw a little behind the scenes of Werner Herzog talking about how he never likes to use sets ever. He likes to use real locations. And this was the only time he had to use a set because they had to flood it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe that was their own thing. Like they couldn't, this is his production crew. Werner Herzog doesn't do a whole lot of movies all that often anymore. He mostly sticks to the documentaries. So maybe... Yeah. Maybe it was just shortcomings on set.
So that also implies that they used 2,400 cans of regular coffee first and then found out that didn't work. So then they had to use Carl Folgers again. Get him on the line.
Show me the Folgers.
I just want to see like what happened. Like was the guy who played Chavez in the water and he was just like,
it was like this. It's like that scene where Nick smokes a crack.
Racing and
he's all
then it ran, and he jumped, and he got antlers.
Come on, man, get me out of there. There's fucking snakes in here, man.
There's a fucking snake. Snakes in here.
It's a real snake swimming in here.
They make a bet that this dude will drown by 5, but he pulls on Terrence's heartstrings by telling him he has a broken leg. Terrence says,
"You want me to get wet on account of you?"
And says he's got on some Swiss cotton underwear, which, as we all know, Swiss cotton is one of the finest cotton textiles Europe can produce. So I can't blame him there for not wanting to fuck up his undies.
$50 pair of underwear. Whatever it was. 55.
Yeah, 55. 55.
Yeah.
Chavez starts praying, and Stevie says, "Come on, we'll get the time of death from his autopsy." So he seems seems like a real great guy. He's letting Nick keep the nudes, and he's okay with this guy drowning. Terrence heads up, decided it's worth wrecking a pair of $55 Swiss cotton underwear, and comes to the dude's aid.
I like how he's also like in a suit. He doesn't care about the suit. He cares about his underwear. He's not going to wreck his multiple $100 suit.
He wears that same oversized suit through this whole entire movie.
I know.
Like, buy a suit that fits.
Well, he can't. He's
part of the character.
Spending all his money on his girlfriend.
Yeah. He's got to look frumpy. Also, New Orleans is hot and muggy all the time, so maybe he just needs something that'll breathe a little bit more.
Yeah.
He's got to accommodate his hump shoulder.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. She doesn't have in this first scene, if you watch. He does pay attention to that throughout, unlike his accent, which we'll get to. But I have a theory where I'm jumping ahead, but so every time he does the heroin, it makes his mouth numb, and he mentions it in the scene with Frankie. Where he's like, "Make my mouth numb," and he's like rubbing his mouth. And I think that's where the accent comes from. Is the accent is more of him like, "Arr, arr, arr." But at the same time, it just sounds like a Junior G-Man sounding voice the whole time.
Yeah,
a Junior G-Man.
Look here, see?
Terrence jumps in, and we abruptly cut to him in a doctor's office where we find out he screwed up his back trying to rescue Chavez. So he'll be experiencing moderate to severe back pain for, well, I guess the rest of his life. No good deed goes unpunished.
And also a little commentary on the opioid crisis.
Yeah.
Doctor was like, you know.
Hey, just take this immediately for the rest of your life.
Take Vicodin forever.
Call me up second you run out.
It's not like you could do like decompression exercises or strengthening.
Go to a chiropractor.
Your core. Yeah. So just here, take these pills.
It's the answer to everything.
It is. From here on out, every time we see Terrence, he has a hunchback, has a hard time bending down or getting up, and he walks with a bit of a limp.
He totally does nail the Frankenstein walk, though. It's like stiff leg walking, zombie-looking thing.
The doctor prescribes some Vicodin, which, based on this movie, is definitely the real gateway drug. We cut to Terrence being promoted to lieutenant for the extreme valor he showed by not just leaving a guy to die in flooded prison. We cut to 6 months later. Terrence pulls up to a crime scene and New Orleans is still wrecked from the flooding. Fun fact, this was filmed 4 years after the flooding, but the production had no trouble finding spots like this around the city. That tells you how bad things got, and in some spots actually continued to still be.
Yeah, there's entire sections of New Orleans that are still uninhabitable. It's been 18 years since
people just left. Yeah, people left and never went back, and the city just kind of let them just decay even further. Wouldn't you know it, he's graduated from Vicodin to cocaine, which he pours from a little vial and snorts off his hand. He takes a few healthy snorts directly from the bottle before screaming, "Okay, baby girl, who sent ya? Who sent ya?" Quick fact, Nicolas Cage actually snorted baby powder for the cocaine scenes, which just sounds fucking awful.
Do that?
Yeah.
Apparently.
I thought it's also a carcinogen too. Like
probably
there's something with talcum not being the best thing to liberally smear all over babies because it can cause stuff.
I remember Jonah Hill talking about how sick he got from snorting fake cocaine on the Wolf of Wall Street. But I don't think that was baby powder. I don't know for sure. Maybe this is a common thing, but like you can sniff baby powder and not get
Probably
hurt.
don't recommend it.
Just seems like a bad idea.
Lining your nasal passages and lungs with a mineral that's been powdered.
Yeah, it sounds awful. It sounds
and
painful
doing
too.
Tons of takes too. I mean, I'm assuming maybe not with Werner Herzog, but usually you would do 15, 20 takes on something, and so you'd have to snort that baby powder 15, 20 times each time that you do cocaine in the whole movie.
It sounds awful. He heads into a crime scene looking sweaty and cracked out, where we see that 5 people have been murdered execution style. Then Terrence reads a poem he finds on a notebook in one of the victims' rooms. It reads, "My Friend" by Babakar Nadeli. "My friend is a fish. He live in my room. His fin is a cloud. He see me when I sleep." Ye's a lyrical genius, man. I'm pretty sure they hired him to write that dope-ass poem. These lyrics are only second to my all-time favorite lyrics from Ye, which are as follows. "Let's have a threesome, me, you, and the blunt. I love your titties because they prove I can focus on 2 things at once." Never have I heard more brilliant writing in my life.
Does anybody know him as Ye?
Yeah, dude. Ye. It's Ye.
Whatever.
I thought it was Ye, but I've only ever seen it written out, so whatever.
It's Ye, bro. Kanye.
Yeah, I get it.
Ye.
I don't think I've even ever heard one
Did
of
he
the
actually change his name legally? Because I still see his name written
knows?
Kanye West everywhere. And like,
I don't know.
Like the basketball players have been changing their name, like Meta World Peace and Freedom Cantor. They have to legally refer to them as that, which must really piss off the announcers. Then Meta World Peace grabs the ball.
Terrence lifts up a plastic cup with a bed of fish in it, and based on the state of the fish swimming around in its own shit, I'm guessing it wishes it would have been shot in the head too.
It was so filthy.
It was so gross. I felt so bad for that fish. Even though
I think Werner
it's only been in
Herzog
there.
cares about animals so much, he would have made an attempt to make sure the beta fish was taken care of.
Hey,
I think they wanted to show that it was,
filming.
it had been a little while since anybody had taken care of the fish, after the execution. But at the same time, it was like, Come on, man.
Yeah, I felt bad
You
for
just
that.
have it in that little cup. Like,
Yeah. They wallow in their own filth, like we do.
Look
every
at the
day in this
existential
world.
crisis of the eyes of the beta fish,
Actually, it might have been a microcosm for New Orleans.
praying for death.
Even if we put it back in its bowl, it would wander back to the cup.
I mean, that's kind of true. That's why people keep betas in like a small container
Yeah.
because they just live in one spot their whole life.
They kind of die if you put them in more water. Like people always feel bad about them, then put them in a big.
I think
big
you can put
tank
them in
and-
a slightly bigger container than a little
yeah.
plastic cup, but yeah. They need a little more room.
Yeah.
Over at the station, the captain explains that the victims were an African family from Senegal, illegal aliens, and a member of the family was dealing heroin. He puts the station to work on finding clues as to who wiped out the family and says Terrence will be running the investigation. In the captain's office, he asks the detective who has his gun tucked in his waistband rather than in a holster, which, okay, I get it, like carrying appendix style. I totally understand that, but he's one coked out mistake away from blowing his dick off since he doesn't have anything covering the
Yeah,
trigger.
it's a fucking revolver.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a 44 Magnum. Like, it's going to blow his whole midsection apart. It goes
I really
off
thought that
once.
was going to happen in the movie. Like that was
I thought so too.
foreshadowing for something later
I
on.
thought so too. Thought he was gonna just in a coke phase just accidentally grab the trigger and blow his fucking junk off.
Oh, God. I blew my penis off.
Anyways, I mean, this guy's totally stable, given all this craziness. So, his captain rightfully asks if he's up for the investigation. The captain asks if he's still taking medication for his back, and Terrence says only what the doctor prescribes, which just happens to be tons of illegal drugs. After all, his doctor is a drug dealer, so he ain't lying.
Suppose you could argue, what's worse, massive amounts of Vicodin or a little cocaine here and there.
Well, in his case, it's not a little here and there. It's a lot. It's a lot here and there.
Yeah. Cocaine and then heroin to bring him down off the
To
cocaine.
bring him down.
And then
Yeah.
a little Vicodin to spice things up.
Mm-hmm.
Some
He doesn't really drink in this
Some
movie,
crack
does he?
sometimes.
Yeah, some crack.
Yeah.
At least he's not an alcoholic for once.
Yeah.
He asks Terrence about his dad, who I guess is an ex-cop, and McDonagh says he's drinking himself into an early grave. Terrence's dad, not Terrence. Terrence is snorting his way into an early grave, as we just talked about.
Yeah.
The captain says he shouldn't take any more unnecessary jumps. So basically, he's telling him next time you see someone who's in need of help and you have the ability to save them, just let them fucking drown, okay? Don't jump into shallow water to save a man's life.
Yeah. That's true. He
the
jumps like
fucking
15
police, man.
feet down onto the ground.
It's one of my Coppola questions of like, weren't there some fucking stairs that you could have gone down?
You're right. There's no time for stairs.
He was going to get
I
wet
gotta
anyway.
go.
Just walk down the stairs.
You want me to get wet for you?
You have no values. It's a fucking stupid line I keep going back to for that movie. Anyways, Terrence heads to a hotel where his prostitute girlfriend, Frankie, lives/does the city of New Orleans.
I picture this as an alternative timeline to Ghost Rider, because like Eva Mendes and Nick Cage coming back together, where Johnny Blaze never sold his soul, but instead is injured in a motorcycle stunt. And he and Roxy moved to New Orleans, where times get tight, so Johnny takes a job as a cop, but he doesn't make enough to keep his gorgeous wife satisfied. At least that's what he tells himself between snorts of cocaine. Little does he know, Roxy just wants him to be happy. But with her husband gone, constantly gone, working overtime and stopping by slimy dive bars on the way home, she began to want more. It started slow for Roxy. She took a job as a waitress and men started flirting with her. She spurned their advances, but night after night, coming home to a message left on an answering machine by Johnny, telling her that to not wait up, she began to entertain the thought of another man in her bed. The first time she sold herself, she said it was just to pay the power bill since Johnny's drinking had escalated into a full-blown heroin habit that was eating away at the savings that they had from his years as a stuntman. When Johnny found out, he was devastated, but eventually he learned to accept that if he wanted to keep both of his loves, Roxy and heroin, This was the only way. She soon moved into a nearby hotel so she could entertain clients in a more suitable setting than their one-bedroom trailer. But occasionally, Johnny would stop by to watch from an adjacent room on a little monitor. He'd fight back tears at the sight of his beloved Roxy pleasing another man, but the pain quickly went away once he shot his one true love into his veins.
Oh my God.
That'd have been a better sequel than Spirit of Vengeance.
Oh my God. Yeah, it would have.
You just see him like retroactively cuts away from him selling his soul and like, here's a different timeline where you didn't sell your soul to me. Gets injured right away. Then he's doing heroin and then
Honestly, that would have been a better movie than the original Ghost Rider. Oh, man.
He's just crocodiling it from the other room, doing heroin.
Anyways, he and Frankie snort cocaine off their hands while Werner Herzog leaves an unintelligible but somehow still super creepy message on her answering machine.
Hey, this is Fendi. Hey. Calling to see if you have any time tonight. I'm at the Monte.
You need to call him back?
I couldn't understand a word of it. I'm coming over to kill you.
I like how they just ignore it too. It's like, oh, there's some creepy dude leaving this.
Do you need to call him back?
Should we call him back? She gives Terrence a freebie since she loves him, or because he gave her coke. Both are pretty plausible at this point. He gets a call and screams at a guy named Armand not to let a fellow detective beat up a suspect in the Senegal family murder investigation. He then yells at the pharmacist to hurry up with his prescription by yelling,
"Hello, miss! I'm a lieutenant in the police department. I'm in the middle of a homicide investigation. Can I get my prescription, please?"
What the hell, dude? Maybe we should take another one on that. That one was all one shot too. With the
I liked it.
I get the feeling that that's why it's so over the top. Is that they did it all in one take.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus.
Like, move on, done.
And I wonder if it was improv, if he just made that all up on the spot.
It wouldn't surprise me. When she tells him she's on the phone, he barges behind the counter, screams at her again, and starts throwing prescriptions around like a drug addict. As he downs some pills, he screams at her the question we've all been asking ourselves: am I getting through to you, pharmacist? When security arrives, he shows him his ridiculously oversized gun tucked into his pants like a cartoon character and says, "What's that look like?" After the guy says, "You ain't no cop." So I guess owning a huge gun makes you a cop in New Orleans. That place really wild. You know, if only Diesel had lived in New Orleans, he'd still be with us. R.I.P. Diesel.
He also nobody really reacts to this psycho guy going back there and then flashing a giant Magnum as the excuse. I mean, his badge was also there, but
to be fair,
did he open it all the way? Because I feel like he just.
I thought he showed it. I
just
think it was on his belt, but whatever.
Yeah, I
the
can't remember.
security
If
guard was still just kind of like, all right.
Get out, junkie.
Fucking white guy. But I mean, to be fair, they had just gone through crazier shit during Katrina, so he's probably like, this is pretty normal now. And he didn't pull the gun out on me, so maybe he is a cop.
He didn't shoot me immediately, so he must be a cop.
Over at the station, Terrence breaks up Stevie playing bad cop with an African suspect. He yells at him and chases off one of the only interesting actors in the film in seconds flat, as Terrence is left alone with the suspect. Terrence then plays good cop with the suspect and fist bumps this guy in the weirdest way possible.
I'm going to treat you respectfully. You treat me respectfully.
Maybe that's an African way of greeting someone. I really don't know.
I thought it was.
One could only describe it as two fair maidens held out their hands to be kissed at the same time and they bumped into each other. It's a pretty fucking accurate description.
I don't know what it was supposed to be, but it's really weird. I hope that it was intentional. Like it was like him trying to gain this guy's trust, but either could be plausible at this point. I have no idea.
Yeah. This is the one scene I really felt like you were kind of rooting for Nick's character, because he came off very calm, collective, and understanding in this scene, to the point where you're like, okay, this guy could actually be a really good detective if he wasn't just out of his fucking mind, coked up or heroined out.
Also, like, he's trying to solve the murder of like 5 illegal aliens, so you'd think like if he was really a bad guy, he wouldn't give a shit. You know,
it's kind of like way different tone than anything else in this film. At least I felt it's the only real moment that you have like empathy for this character, and you're kind of rooting for him, because after this, it's just a fucking shit show. And I was like, I hope they killed this motherfucker. I hope he dies.
I think that he is a genuinely at heart good person, but it's just one. It's like a snowball effect of things that are going on with him. Like, he was already kind of shady, but at heart, he saved the guy at the beginning. He actually, throughout the entire movie, is genuinely trying to solve this murder.
He's trying to solve it. Yeah,
and I think that's what the point of the ending was, also to show like he still cares about people who aren't his prostitute girlfriend. He cares about the guy he saved.
Yeah,
he's got a big heart.
I guess trying to show like he was a good guy at one point, was a good cop. Bad cop.
Yeah, they just do a really poor job at really making you sympathetic for this guy.
Yeah, your empathy quickly.
Yeah, watch this guy
away.
be a piece of shit for an hour and 45 minutes, and then in the last 2 minutes of the movie, be like, "Oh, he's actually was a good guy."
Oh yeah, he was a good guy.
He's good. He did solve those murders, just in a really fucked up way. This guy was caught with a joint and will be sent back to Angola if his parole officer finds out. Shit's real harsh in the South, man. He admits that he knew the guy from Senegal was selling heroin, and tells Terrence this guy was selling in a territory controlled by a guy named Big Fate.
This is still like weed in even in Louisiana, which seems like a pretty open-minded state sometimes. Not in 2009. That's not
now,
true.
But
that's not true.
I don't know. Anything goes during Mardi Gras.
But yeah, just even like a little bit of weed, like we see later with Ronaldo, like you can go to jail for it in that state.
As we all know, you don't want to mess with Big Fate, because Fate rearranged the whole game with his rugged sound. Fate won't even say your name when he comes around. Does anyone remember that Xzibit had a rap career before Pimp My Ride? Or is that just lost in time forever?
Dr. Dre is in that fucking video.
Yeah.
Wait, did he help produce Xzibit?
I think so,
Yeah, I believe so.
Makes sense.
Terrence tells another detective playing Snake or something on his BlackBerry to make sure there's no mention of the joint they found on a suspect in his police report, and then takes a nap in a utility closet of some sort. I'm guessing they're still recovering from Hurricane Katrina, so they can just make do with whatever at this point.
I don't know, man. It seemed like the rest of the place was okay. If you look in that one scene when he's talking to the two detectives who drop off the bag of heroin that he steals, the ceiling is all messed up, and I think maybe it had actually been underwater. Like, this actual police station had been underwater, or whatever they're using to simulate being a police station. But
then a 2-time Oscar nominee tells Terrence that Internal Affairs is check-in property room vouchers, so they're bound to find some drugs missing. Michael Shannon, or Munt says Internal Affairs is installing cameras, so he can't help Terrence steal drugs anymore. So I guess the evidence room is what Terrence uses as a pharmacy when he's not yelling at actual pharmacists. Once again, that's Munt. The D and the T are enunciated.
That's a very like Southern name.
Yes,
Munt.
it is.
Yeah.
And he's doing
that was the first
weird.
time I noticed a accent of any kind. It's like, "Hey, Munt." When he leaves the room.
Yeah, and that's right. He clearly knows the guy has left the room and has walked down the hall, and he's still yelling after him. Like, dude, he's gone.
He's getting desperate.
We're about to find out how desperate he really is. Over at the Gators retreat, Terrence tails a couple coming out after a night of partying. He flips on his lights and shakes them down. He finds some nondescript drugs in the guy's pocket and in her purse, during which the guy begs for Terrence not to take them to jail. He finds the girl's crack pipe, and Terrence asks where the rock is. And in a bizarre turn, she asks if he wants a hit, and he says yes. Because of course he does. He'll fucking do anything at this point. She lights up her crack pipe and blows the smoke into his mouth while her boyfriend looks on just as baffled as the rest of us. Terrence then trips and crashes to the ground. The guy's girlfriend stands over him and with some quick fancy footwork has his pants unbuttoned and seconds flat. No, fuck, wait, that's Grandile. My bad. All these weird sex scenes with him, I get confused, you know. She makes out with the bad lieutenant in between hits, and he has sex with her right there in the parking lot while asking her what her parents would think if they could see her now as she licks his face.
They probably can because he's just right out in public, like right next to a main road.
Yeah, they're over there. Let's ask
Everyone
him.
can see him.
Side note, Terrence must have the most flexible cock I've ever seen. I mean, that angle. Like, ouch. Johnny Sins would even be envious of his cock flexibility. Now, remember, all this is taking place only 6 months after his first Vicodin. This like really tells you that the opiate epidemic is no joke. Which reminds me, what's the difference between a crackhead and a walrus? One tooth. Anyways, the guy eventually gets tired of watching a police detective bang his girlfriend, so he runs away, but Terrence shoots his gun in the air, which I guess was still tucked in his waistband while he was having sex with this girl. He forces the dude to watch, and we fade to black.
Yeah, that's when it should have gone off.
Yeah.
That was fucking. Oh my god! My god! Later,
Been an interesting turn right in the middle of the movie.
Right in the middle. It's a metaphor.
I'm in the hospital. They're giving me drugs.
Later, he snorts some coke and seems to feel bad for, smoking crack, banging a crackhead, and forcing the guy to watch it.
I'm guessing that the inspiration for this was from the original Bad Lieutenant, because there's a scene where he pulls over these two girls who are coming home from a concert, and over the course of a very long scene, it's like 5 or 6 minutes long, he convinces these two girls to let him jerk off while he looks at them. And it's really disturbing. And he feels bad about it afterwards. And I'm like,
yeah, that
this one is
clarity.
It took so long in that scene to get to I'm a detective and I'm going to take you girls in unless you do this for me. It took so long to to realistically build that line between I'm just pulling somebody over and let me jerk off while I'm looking at your ass. In this one, it's just yeah, give me some crack. And it's just he's banging her right then, and Jesus, man.
Yeah, it happened so
abruptly.
I thought it was he just does this all the time with this chick.
Yeah,
that's what I'm wondering, because we see it later on that this happens again, and so it's this is just his normal thing, and maybe a shakedown he does with this girl or something.
Right, we already saw him doing that with Roxy, shaking down the guy that she was with. Mm-hmm. So. I thought that's
well, we're about to see that.
It's Frankie, actually, is her name.
Yeah, Frankie.
Yeah, that's right.
We're about to see him shake that guy down.
Fancy.
It's a fancy footwork. Well, he stumbles his way to Frankie's place, where he explains that he accidentally snorted heroin on accident and has to be at work in an hour, so he needs the coke he gave her so he can level out. This happens to everyone, so I can't really, can't really look down on him. I mean, who hasn't made that mistake before?
I always thought maybe it's just because of the purity level, but I thought if you snorted heroin, you would die. I didn't think that you were supposed to be able to snort heroin.
I don't know enough about
just
drugs.
The concentration of heroin, but
I think
he does it constantly, and he does it with uncut heroin later on as well.
That I think would kill him. I think for the most part, heroin is cut so much that you can snort it, but uncut I would imagine would kill you, because that's got to be pretty pure shit.
Yeah.
But like Nigel, I don't know enough. I never dabbled in that.
I thought the uncut
area.
stuff was coke at the end. Was it heroin?
I don't know.
Just based on
That's
the
a
way
good
he
question.
reacted when he snorted it, like, and got all, like did the whole thing with the antlers and stuff. Was that what you're talking
Well,
about?
that was from smoking crack.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they
Who
say
knows?
is dope heroin?
Dope is
yeah,
anything.
Okay.
But I think they were
it depends
referring
on the writer,
to
but
heroin,
yeah.
though.
Because dope could be marijuana.
They were
it could be
referring to the
heroin,
uncut stuff
crack.
as dope, so I thought that I don't even know anymore. I don't know enough.
I don't know.
about
It's just
drugs.
a lot of white powder flying around.
I
Yeah.
would say, like, so they say that the key that they had at the end was $60,000. If that was heroin, I think it would be a hell of a lot more. So I'm pretty sure
Well,
that's cocaine.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it has to be heroin because isn't the whole reason why they killed that family because the guy was dealing heroin in Big Fate's territory?
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
And he does say it's Taliban stuff, which is
That's right, which is
Yeah, they do
heroin.
which is
So,
heroin. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
so it must have been heroin.
I guess you're right. He snorts uncut heroin.
I guess he's been doing so much drugs that his body's just
He's
able
got
to
that
just-
tolerance. Yeah.
Yeah, just take
Well,
it, I guess.
We did see in the quick facts that Werner Herzog is not interested in drug culture and doesn't seem to know much about drug culture. So
Yeah.
that could be.
Just
Man,
a
I hope
mistake.
nobody ever just snorted uncut heroin after watching this movie.
Tune into Back in the Cage, where we will snort uncut heroin.
God.
Man, that would be the most interesting like spin-off we could do.
It'd be the
We
last
try and
spin-off we ever
replicate
did.
all the drugs and alcohol that Nick Cage does in each film.
We'd make it one episode and be dead.
Yeah, we just
We wouldn't
die
even make
after,
it past like Grand
after
Isle.
Grand Isle. We'd be
Grand
dead.
Isle would kill us.
Definitely Mandy.
Yeah.
Oh God!
Oh, God.
How
Down a
did-
bottle of
of
whiskey
acid
or whatever the hell
and
that was.
whiskey. No, vodka. He drank vodka,
Vodka.
but then he snorts cocaine / heroin,
Yeah.
and then drinks that acid
Acid
stuff.
It's like crank and then heroin. Yeah.
I would say we'd be dead after the bottle of vodka. We wouldn't even make it
Yes.
far enough.
Yeah.
Into.
Yeah, exactly.
Each one of us has to drink 3/4 of a bottle of vodka and then do the next bit right after that.
All right, he's excited that his prostitute girlfriend didn't share the coke with her client, who's busy cleaning up in the bathroom, and is probably still running down Frankie's leg. Fucking A, Patrick. Thanks for that visual. She explains that he brings his own coke. So as this guy exits the bathroom, Terrence stands up slowly, pulls open his jacket to reveal his big ass gun, as if they're about to have a high noon duel, and says,
I'm the last person in the world you want me to be.
through glazed eyes and slurred speech, and without ever showing his badge, he and Crack Roxy shake this dude down for his coke and smirk to each other before lying on the wet spot she and her client just made. They're such a cute couple. So cute. This next scene might just be my favorite in the whole film. An African shaman of some sort prays over the caskets of the family that were murdered, takes big swigs of alcohol and spits them on the coffins one at a time as the sick beats of Asher Nama play in the background. You know that song that became very popular when people were dancing with the caskets?
Yeah.
I think you guys all know.
The coffin dance song.
The coffin dance
Oh,
song.
yeah. Okay.
Oh, is that what that song or that?
The song starts playing in the background as he's doing all this. As he's doing the thing, just spitting the fucking vodka or rum or whatever the hell he's drinking.
I just
rum.
love that it was like in real time of like,
Yeah.
We're only doing the one take. Take your time.
Yeah, Werner Herzog they showed up to a real funeral. And
I wouldn't put it past him.
I watched the behind the scenes and he actually was like, I've been to a real funeral like this and this is what happens. And then he told the dude how to do it. And he was like, it was actually from Africa. He witnessed this in Africa and they brought it over to
I figured
New
that's
Orleans.
what happened.
Well, we get to see him do this to 3 separate coffins in real time. Well, I guess he's cooking up some lunch on a barbecue nearby, which is as the tradition goes, you know.
Sounds more fun than Western funerals.
Yeah, it does.
So it be written, so it shall be done.
Chicken's ready.
It smells real good. Can I take a plate for the road?
Take this back to my girlfriend.
A hysterical woman pulls Terrence aside since she's tired of having to wipe alcohol spatter off her face. She points at the photo she has of each family member and explains to him how death works.
This dead, this boy, Baba car. This little girl, pretty girl, no more. He's dead, older man. Oh, my angel, she is dead. Oh, my heart.
Then screams for Terrence to bring the men to justice. Dead. They're never coming back.
This
They're
one bad.
dead.
This one dead too.
It's like, yes, ma'am, I know how it works.
I was there. I saw him.
They stank so bad.
Little boy had a
He
fish.
then gets up and eulogizes the family by reading the poem once again. Not just joking.
A really cool poem over there. Stuck with me.
Stuck with
The fish dream.
two fish tree. nice tie-in. Terrence is zonked out of his mind and seems to be trying to focus on what she's saying through the haze. You know, like that hyper focus you get when you've had one too many, so you have to focus really hard on the lines of the road so you don't accidentally run over a kid while driving through a school zone. He looks at her just like that. And for the record, those charges are still pending, and I've been advised by my lawyer not to say any more on the matter. Terrence heads to a quarter store where the two people behind the counter look like they're being held hostage for some reason. They're just all
It's so weird, dude.
You have to ask the owner.
There's so many parts like that in the movie. Like, why? Why have him do that and then talk to a completely different character?
I think that they're... I don't think that these were actors. Like, I know that the guy who was spitting alcohol wasn't an actor because of the behind the scenes. He was just a guy that they were like, you have the look that I want. And then same with the woman who was like pointing at the thing. She's like, you look exactly how I want for this scene, so you're going to be the person. And like,
So
he had
did he really-
a group of people all standing
So
around.
I do imagine he just really crashed a funeral and then was like, I'm going to film a movie.
Yeah.
You there, crying mother. Come be in my film.
Come here, use
for
your
acting.
grief for art. Over here.
I mean, we joke about it, but I did actually like the verisimilitude in a lot of scenes in this movie. It's just weird. Like, you don't see it in movies. Like, it's a bunch of wasted screen time. Like,
Yes.
it feels realistic. He walks in, asks about something. They point it to the owner. He goes over and
Yeah.
talks to the owner.
Yeah.
He could have just walked in and started talking to the owner, but you know, it's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why the
Just
movie's 2 hours
standing
long.
bolt upright behind
Yeah.
the counter for no good reason. Just
Reminds me of
staring
the,
off into space.
The shopkeeper in Birdemic when they go to get gas. And he's like, I don't have any gas because of all the birds. The gas is $50 a gallon. Just some guy that they filmed.
Then the audio cut out, and then it cuts to the other guy. $50.
$50.
Wait, that's better acting than he actually performed it.
Yeah, it is. He asked the store owner if any of the delivery boys haven't shown up to the store since the day of the murder, which leads him to an old folks' home where an old Southern belle on oxygen is getting her hair did by an equally old African lady who I guess is her caretaker.
I don't know if it's her caretaker or I thought it was just like her friend who just also
I
lived
thought-
at the nursing home.
Well, later
I
on,
thought so,
he
too.
says you couldn't take care of her worth of shit. So I think
Yeah.
like
Maybe it's supposed
Yeah.
to be.
think it's supposed to be like a live-in nurse or something like that. Like maybe
Yeah,
she
maybe.
she also lives there and is taken
All right.
care of, but I have no idea.
Yeah.
But she's
very
also like,
weird.
you know, in her 60s.
Yeah,
at
they look like they're the
least.
same age.
Terrence endears himself immediately by throwing a stuffed animal on the floor. Just remember, he's like in these people's home, just being a complete asshole to them. Then
Just
he just
walks in and does
stares
it.
down the old lady on oxygen like he's about to make sure she falls and won't get up. Now, thankfully, she has life alert. So if she did end up falling, paramedics would be there within seconds to help her out. Suddenly, the kid they're looking for just kind of climbs through a window since he overheard the whole conversation about the murders.
This felt very like Werner Herzog was just like, we need to make sure that these things happen quickly. And then it just had him climb through the window.
I think the implication is that he was hiding outside.
He's hiding in the old folks'
outside.
Yeah, and then he's like...
And then you hear a whole conversation through a closed window.
Right. And then decides to come in so they don't shake, so his grandma doesn't get shot by this lunatic.
The kid tries to come clean and tell them that he witnessed a crime they're investigating, but his grandma tells him to be quiet since I'm sure she sensed the heroin snorting cop who just threw her favorite stuffed animal on the floor probably won't be able to protect her grandson if the bad guys come looking for him. She's got good instincts, that's all I can say.
Yeah.
He tells Terrence he was delivering groceries to the family when the murders happened. He hid in the closet, saw the whole thing, and identified Big Fate and his crew as the killers. Back at the station, the captain calls a meeting where he tells the crew that Big Fate, a.k.a. Donald Godshaw, did time for rape, sodomy, aggravated assault, narcotics, possession of automatic weapons, just all the fun ones that you get arrested for. Stand-up guy. Terrence shows some cool murder scene photos for no real reason and then tells the other cops Big Fate runs with a guy named G, which gives him a good cagey chuckle every time he says it.
Gary Jenkins, street name G.
And another guy named Midget. Now, the movie said that, not us, so please do not leave angry comments. We're just telling you what these guys decided to name this fucking character for no reason at all. It's the dumbest thing they could have fucking done. Probably just an inside joke with them.
Yeah. Honestly, I think him laughing at G was like my favorite running joke in the movie.
He does it
every
like
time he
3 or
says
4
it,
times.
he chuckles. Like it's the funniest thing he's ever
G.
It's such a stupid gangster name. Oh, real original.
Yeah.
G.
They head to G's apartment where Terrence knocks on the neighbor's door and asks for access to the backyard so he can sneak into the bad guy's place through an unlocked back door. Then he pinches a baby's cheek and says,
Aw, it's okay, baby.
like a goblin wearing a human suit. Just all sorts of weird. It's such a fucking
really got to gain their trust,
moment. Like laughing like a psychopath.
It's okay, baby.
Yeah, that's really going to make this mom want to let this guy with a gun into her house.
She's like, no. He walks through these poor people's apartment with his gun out, then steals a napkin or something off the table. Just a real asshole this guy is.
What was that? It never comes back. Never talk about it again.
A bundle of weed or something. I don't know. He smells it and then just takes it. Drugs.
I don't know. Yeah, it was so quick and not lit very well. Yeah. I don't know what the fuck. He's coked out his mind. It could be anything.
It just looks like a black napkin you would get from a restaurant or something. Like some Olive Garden napkin with utensils inside.
Maybe it was a pair of her underwear. Who knows?
It's $55 pair of Swiss underwear. I need that.
I ruined my pair.
He sneaks right in through the guy's back door. Giggity. Well, G is oblivious and just staring out the window at all the cops milling about. And he probably heard everything that happened outside, yet he still is caught off guard somehow.
Can't hear this guy opening his back door and coming through the kitchen.
Not only that, he's like, I'm going around.
Yeah.
I'm sure he heard the whole conversation
right
next door. It's not
like, right outside the front door. It's like paper thin door, paper thin walls. And he's like, oh, how did you get in here?
I believe these are called shotgun apartments or shotgun houses. I can't remember the term for it because they're long and narrow, so you could sit in the back and fire a shotgun all the way through the front door. And they're real big around the South.
Terrence brings the guy out and says,
I love it. I just love it.
Well, Val Kilmer looks at him and says to himself, why don't I have any lines in this fucking movie? I was in fucking Tombstone. I played Jim Morrison. Why didn't I think to go in the back door, man? Giggity. The men don't know, but the little girls understand. Guys, honestly, at this point, let's just turn this crap off and go listen to The Doors. That sounds like such a way better idea than finishing this breakdown. Over at the station, they interrogate G. A detective overacts like crazy and calls G son, even though he's like 25 and G is like 40 or something. He gives them nothing, so Terrence heads to a sports bar. That's the end of the scene. That's
Sure.
it.
I wanted, as a straight to write the movie, I wanted him to call the guy boy, but it's not PG, so he called him son instead.
The Schraderverse. At the bar, Terrence places a bet with Wormtongue from Lord of the Rings, while obviously coked out of his mind. His bookie, Ned, asks to take care of a speeding ticket his daughter got, tells him if he can't get it done, he might act up. Last time he acted up, he ended up in the body of a doll and killed a few people. Yeah, that's right. His bookie was the voice of Chucky, guys. The serial killer doll, not the ginger fuck from Rugrats. Fuck that kid. Always bitching out, leaving Tommy in a real bind. Terrence, terrified that his bookie might swap bodies with the doll again and come after him, heads right over to talk to the cop who issued the ticket in exchange for Ned shaving half a point off his bet and not killing him.
I'm just really glad that Brad Dourif was in this movie.
I was like, what?
I love him. He's so good
I was
in
like,
everything.
what is going on? They have so many fucking people in this
and
film.
I was like,
why?
I thought that was going to be his only scene. Like, he's just
Yeah,
there to
me
be the
too.
bookie for a scene because
Yeah.
of how little we're seeing, like, Val Kilmer.
Yeah. I didn't think he'd come back at all. I'm like,
I
what
think
the
people
fuck?
just probably just want to work with Werner Herzog for the stories.
Yeah.
Just
And they get paid to be
got
in
to
New
work with
Orleans?
him, and then he was like, "You'll be playing a detective who's a bit of a loose cannon,
For no reason
but you get
at
no
all.
speaking lines till the very end, and then you just go off the rails for no reason."
I'm in. Did you know I was Batman once? Yes, we know.
I've
What
never
is-
seen
what is
it,
Batman?
never
I
heard
have
of
not
it.
seen
What
it.
is Batman?
Is that the nature documentary about a man who gets eaten by bats? I could make a film of that.
This is fascinating. I'd love to know more.
We see a car that flipped on a road while trying to avoid an alligator, which everyone in the scene seems to think is an everyday occurrence. I guess maybe it is in the
New
South.
Orleans.
Who knows?
Yeah. They live in a swamp. There's got to be alligators all over the place.
If you're wondering why people in the South always seem pissed off, it's probably because of shit like this.
Yeah.
Cokehead McDonagh tries to get that guy to drop the speeding ticket, but he won't budge since Terrence comes off as a real asshole. They almost get into a fight, but are interrupted by Miss Vicky Valancourt herself. I'm guessing this is the job she took after the water boy left her to go play in the NFL.
She never got out
Maybe.
of Louisiana.
Terrence finds out she works in the property room, so he asks her out since she can take the place of his old property room bitch/lover, Munt.
Monk. Hey, Mont.
Then I guess Werner Herzog got bored and decided to strap a GoPro to a monkey and have it follow uncomfortably close to an alligator for some goddamn reason. I'll let you guys take it away from there as to what your thoughts on that scene are.
A couple of times that this happens in this movie, and it's kind of unexplainable. I don't know, just to make you uncomfortable. And this is like supposed to be his hallucinations, so I guess we're seeing it through his eyes somehow, even though he's in the
what is he
background of the scene.
hallucinating then? Like an alligator looking at a dead alligator that then just sort of walks off? It's not even...
I guess maybe
That
it
was
was
his
like
wife,
the alligator that's
alligator.
dead. The alligator that died is now alive and walking
it's his
around or
soul.
something.
Oh, it's his soul.
You can see
Yeah.
the soul moving around. Okay.
Okay.
There's a little internal consistency there
Okay, that makes sense.
that doesn't make sense. It makes sense maybe later on.
Yeah, after you see Maynard
I don't
breakdancing.
understand the lizards, but it's just...
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's nothing cooler than seeing Nick Cage and a lizard in the same scene.
It just reminds me of the drinking out of cups video with the CG lizard just talking nonsense. No way. No way.
No way. No way. Fucking flowers. Fucking dresses.
Whose
Lighthouses
road is
rule.
this? Who paid for this road?
Who
Not
put
me.
that chair? Who put that chair there? Not me. No way.
Mr. Balloon Hands.
How did I get on this road? I was walking across this road. I got ran over. Why am I walking in the grass now? No way.
Oh, fuck.
Fucking bullshit.
Fucking cops drinking coffee out of cups. Drinking out of cups. No way.
No way.
We cut to Terrence snorting coke or heroin or whatever while Bobby Boucher's ex tries to get frisky with them. She asks him if he likes her boots and if he's horny, but she quickly realizes he's high on dope when he says, "Mama's asleep in the next room if you want to show me your boobies again."
I'd love to see Nick Cage's take on the water boy.
Oh my God, me too. No, Colonel Sanders, you're wrong.
It's your medulla oblongata.
Despite that off-putting comment, she still tries to seduce him, but stops when he can't get it up. She asks if what he's taking is prescription, to which Terrence says,
"Whatever I take's prescription, except for the heroin."
If I had a nickel for every time I've had this exchange with a woman. He asks her to steal Oxycontin or morphine from the evidence room. She calls him nuts and he passes out. End of scene. That's it. Never mentioned again.
I mean, it's fine. I just wanted to see that chick in her underwear anyway, so.
It's really the only point of that
I'm glad
scene.
he did that. I'm sad he didn't do the GoPro, like, stream close up on him. Go up and down her body with it.
She's not a lizard.
She just looks like one.
She ate a lizard in a film. That's why I decided to cast her. Saw her eat an alligator.
Terrence heads to his bookie and lets him know he can't get the ticket cleared up, which pisses Warm Tongue off. So he says, "You are banished forthwith from the kingdom of Rowan under pain of death." Also, he says that Terrence owes him $3,000, so Terrence bets another $2,000 on Louisiana versus Georgia, which makes a lot of fucking sense, I guess. Just double down.
Yeah, double down.
Just double down.
That's how you get out of your hole.
In the original movie, he's betting on the NLCS. I think it was the 94 NLCS, where the Dodgers miraculously lost 4 straight games to the Mets after being up 3-0. And
Go Dodgers.
Harvey Keitel, he keeps doubling down each time because he's like, obviously they're going to win the next game. Nobody's ever lost 4 games in a row. And Dodgers lost 3 games in a row, and he was down $120,000 at the end of the movie, which, spoilers, leads to his untimely demise. Spoilers for Bad Lieutenant, I guess.
Original Bad Lieutenant.
But I think they were trying to kind of do that same thing with this movie. But at the same time, the stakes are so much lower. And the guy's still freaking out. I mean, $5,000 is, I guess, a decent chunk of change, but at the same time, it's like in the original, it was $120,000.
Yeah. $5,000. Just go to the bank and get a loan.
Right.
You're good.
Especially if you're the lieutenant in the police department.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Get a payday loan. Take care of that.
Yeah, get a payday. Go to Money Tree. He heads to a stakeout, coked out of his mind, and hallucinates some iguanas on a card table, which is a weird sentence I've never said out loud before. Then he says,
"What are these fucking iguanas doing on my coffee table?"
it just keeps getting weirder and weirder. Everyone in the room stares at him like he's on drugs, because he is. And when he finds out SWAT is standing by to bust, I'm not going to say it, guys. You know what they call this dude. The M word. Small gangster. Rhymes with Gidget. Anyways, he says if they need SWAT, they'll call them, but would rather bust the guy himself. Then the monkey with GoPro shows up again and gets uncomfortably close to an iguana and a bearded dragon for a minute straight. That's right, like a solid minute of this film is horribly shot, shaky cam shots of an iguana and a bearded dragon in extreme close-ups, while an Oscar winner and Iceman from Top Gun stand in the background.
Even to the point where it's like I say, like breaks the fourth wall because one of them like snaps at the camera.
Yeah, the bearded dragon,
shoving a camera right up in its face and then getting up in its eyes.
Attack him.
It's just like, what the hell?
It's just this fucking pointless scene of.
I didn't actually get that it was supposed to be his hallucinations. Like,
I didn't either. I thought they were really.
I thought there was. I mean, it's Louisiana. I figured maybe there were iguanas wandering in, and they were in some random apartment anyway that maybe was abandoned or something. Because
he also says this is my coffee table. Like, what are these iguanas doing on my coffee table? I'm like, so is this his apartment? No, it's not.
They never show him in his own place, do they? He's always either at Cracked Out Roxy's place or his dad's.
Maybe he doesn't have a house because he doesn't have enough money to.
He's just sleeping. He just sleeps in that utility
closet. Spends all his money on bookies and shit. Yeah, he did just sleep at the station.
There is nothing more wondrous than seeing Nicolas Cage and a lizard in the same shot.
That's gonna haunt me for the rest of my days.
Act 2. Let's get some motivation up in this thing.
Terrence, Stevie, and a couple other detectives head in to bust Rhymes with Xzibit and find him hiding in an armoire thanks to a tip from the guy's girlfriend. Only Nicolas Cage calls it an armoire for some reason.
Very particular quirks to Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
There are. S'mores.
S'mores. What was it? Biscotte? Anyway, Terrence sends the other detectives out so he can have some one-on-one time with the little person. Actually, he's not even a little person. He's just a guy wearing 2 watches for some reason, who's honestly not even that short, really. I'm guessing he wears 2 watches so he can keep track of what time it is on Wall Street. That way he can get his trains in before the closing bell. Only reasonable explanation I'll accept. I've actually heard why there's this, the bling culture. It's when they get busted by the cops and arrested, they take everything and put it into evidence lockup so that you have some cash when you get out. You can pawn it.
I think you can actually use those things as like collateral for your bail or something like that if you have all those
maybe that's part of it
gold
too.
Chains on and stuff. Yeah.
Plus, it's a status symbol, but that was sort of where it started. Was like carry valuable shit on you so that if you get busted, you have some money. Terrence smokes a joint because why not? And M-word just. Sorry. Terrence smokes a joint because why not? And an M-word can tell just by looking at him that this guy is a real bad lieutenant. Terrence tells him what he knows about the murders and tries to get him to give up Big Fate while offering him his joint. He brings up his buddy G and then laughs like how stupid of a name that is.
You know, we got your boy, G, right?
Again, G.
Ridiculous.
The vertically challenged gangster said he's not telling him shit, and that's it. End the scene. Terrence heads to his dad's house where we meet Pat McDonagh and his charming wife Stifler's mom. I mean, Genevieve, played by Jennifer Colidge, who's just awful in this movie.
She's really bad. She pulled me out of every scene because it's like, she's usually pretty decent. Like she's great in those Christopher Guest mockumentaries, like Best in Show, and
well, maybe this was actually her to be a serious role and kind of comedic, whatever. But who knows?
Yeah, I guess she's maybe much better as a comedic actress.
Just kind of an awkward director, so maybe she didn't know what to do. I don't know.
Yeah,
just play an alcoholic.
Yeah,
she was supposed to be like kind of a jarring bitch, I think was the idea of her, and then we kind of see her soften later on.
Kind of sympathetic to me even from the start, basically. Like, gotta put up with this loser alcoholic husband and his deadbeat son who sucks living in their shitty plantation house from Grand Isle.
Cracked out prostitute.
And just used to this kind of crap. Anyway, she says Terrence's dad is mad at her because she can't take care of his fucking dog when he goes to AAA. I mean, AA meetings. I mean, AA meetings. Kind of want to leave that in because it's funny.
AAA batteries.
It is funny. AAA batteries.
Can't take care of his fucking dog when he goes to AA meetings. Terrence says he'll take care of the dog so Genevieve doesn't have to do it. And that's it. End of the scene. Terrence takes the dog to Frankie's because she lives in a high-rise hotel and constantly has men over for sex, so she's the perfect person to take care of a 70-pound animal that shits 4 times a day and needs constant supervision. She tells him she needs to go to Biloxi for work and then does some mouth stretches, getting ready for work. You see? Warm up. Work. Suddenly, an hour in, and for the first time in the movie, Nicolas Cage has an accent of some sort, which quickly disappears and then reappears randomly from here on out for the rest of the film.
Well, how are you going to take care of the dog if you're fucked up and you're going to Biloxi?
She says the doorman at the hotel will walk the dog in the morning and she'll be home by the afternoon. She asks what the dog's name is, and Terrence says he doesn't know. That's it. End of scene. A lot of really abrupt, kind of pointless feeling scenes in the movie, as we said. It's just like you're just watching every hour of this guy's weekend or whatever the hell this takes place over.
I honestly feel like Werner Herzog just thought it'd be real funny to have that dog and a prostitute in the car with the kid later on. I think that's the only reason that all of this happens.
At some point. It's just, I mean, I'll give it this. I didn't know where the story was going or what the movie was going to do, but I still enjoyed watching it. So it just kind of, these little slice of life scenes just kind of, I don't know, they're sort of compelling. It feels realistic. Except for Nick's stupid accent that he throws on every once in a while for no reason. or a really confusing reason.
I think they called it the freeze or something like that, where it's like your mouth just gets numb from doing snorting heroin. I have no idea. Like, comes in.
But maybe it's because we've seen him do the Bogart impression. It just took me right out and made me think he was doing the Bogart impression because he was playing a noir detective or something.
But like at a certain point, it just takes over and he's just literally doing an accent.
And it becomes distractingly, confusing in scenes.
I was just like you. I was just like, has he had an accent the whole movie? And I just didn't notice it.
I was like, because he's in New Orleans, so he should have some kind of an accent. But I mean, he really nails the physical aspects of it, like getting more hunched and fucked up as he goes on, as he's like, cracked out and getting just painful, debilitating stuff, which I think that's one of the things that he's really underrated as an actor, is the physical presence he can bring to roles. We've seen it in other movies like Mandy and Willy's Wonderland and stuff. But
Vampire's Kiss for sure.
It really stuck out to me in this movie.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah, he's great at it. He even gives that little wince of pain every time he gets up or sits down, and anytime he has to bend down. Like when he's at the crime scene and he like bends down to look at the victim, he like can't
sort of like leans, but he can't bend down. Terrence and the guy who serves as Terrence's partner when Val Kilmer's off filming one of the other 7 movies or TV shows he made in 2009 interrogate M-word.
I noticed this when I was researching that because I was like, why is he just barely in this movie? And then I was like, oh, he did 7 movies in 2009.
That's a real thing?
Yes.
I thought that was a joke.
He was the voice of Kit in the Knight Rider remake. I was like, wait a minute.
Wow.
Val Kilmer did the voice of Kit?
Wow.
All right.
I'm sorry, Michael. I can't do that. I'm your Huckleberry. What?
All right. Terrence again mentions G and then laughs like someone just told him a dead baby joke.
Gonna help the DA convict you and your boy G.
God damn it.
Little gangster asks where Terrence's weed is, and he says, what are you saying? Are you saying I smoked marijuana in your presence, huh? Cannabis? Is that what you're saying? And then he gets pulled out of the room by some random detective, and Terrence follows behind him, tweaking out, clapping, wiping his nose. Nothing suspicious about that. Rather than being the guy to bust this dope fiend, the detective leads Terrence to meet none other than Big Fate himself, accompanied by his lawyer. We cut from Donald.
X gonna give it to. No,
Wrong guy.
Yo, dog. I heard you liked busting crack dealers, so I brought a crack dealer in to help while you're busting a crack dealer. I don't know.
I'm here to pimp your ride.
I'm going to pimp out this police station.
Pimp out your Crown Vic.
That'd be awesome if that was the next scene.
He's all walking him through the design of it.
You open the door, Daffy Duck appears on the ground. You see that shit? It's awesome.
Put a Woody the Woodpecker over the back of your windows.
You like Woody Woodpecker? I heard you did.
What you did, McDonagh.
We cut from Donald Godshaw and his lawyer to the assistant district attorney named Jeremiah Goodhusband. not fucking making it up. His name is Jeremiah Goodhusband.
Jeremiah Goodhusband.
This is what gave that lady the idea for Good Wife, the show Good Wife.
Anyway,
your name will be Jeremiah Goodhusband. That's a real name that I've heard.
but you're actually an awful husband.
You'll be a terrible husband. We will cut to your family life, and it will be less than ideal.
He has the kid who could identify G, M-word, and Big Fate in his office. He tells Terrence and the captain that he has to give over the names of his witnesses to Big Fate's lawyer, and as soon as he does, he knows Big Fate will try and scare the kid out of testifying. He explains that if they lose the kid, they will lose the case since they have no prints, DNA, or evidence against Big Fate. So, who do they leave this all-star witness with? How about the guy tweaking like mad and jonesing for his next hit? Why not?
He's all...
Who, like, even his own boss has doubts about his capacity to do stuff. Like, are you seeing your doctor?
You're up to this?
There's something you gotta know about me. Good husband. I smoke rocks.
Terrence immediately leaves the kid in his car to go check on Frankie and the dog. I also love that he always parks in the no parking space every time
right
he goes
in front
to
of the
hotel.
building.
Big Fate pulls up in a pimped out ride since he's pretty good at that kind of stuff and shoots the kid in the face. Actually, Terrence finds out Frankie never came back from Biloxi, so he takes the dog and the kid across state lines to Mississippi, and the kid catches him snorting coke during the drive. They head to save Crack Roxy from a guy who wins the award for weirdest person in the movie, while the kid hangs out in the hallway. This guy was really familiar. I don't know where I saw him from, but
yeah, he's in a bunch of stuff.
just like
he always
one of
kind
those
of plays
faces.
this sort of, skeevy dude every time he shows up. He's always kind of an antagonist,
Yeah. Frankie answers the door with a black eye, so Terrence gives her some coke and Vicodin for the pain, I guess. He storms in to confront the dude who gave her the shiner, and Frankie says he still has the money she's owed him for performing whatever unspeakable horrors she did to this weirdo the night before. Terrence takes a wad of cash off this guy and throws him around a bit, which makes this guy say, "Big mistake."
A major faux pas.
Apparently his uncle is one of the biggest developers on the Gulf Coast, and Tommy Leonardi is one of his best friends, who is some sort of Deep South equivalent of a mafia guy, I guess. Sounds like they just needed the most mafia sounding name.
Yeah.
Tommy Leonardi.
Hey, oh.
Get some real Donald Trump Jr. vibes from this guy. My daddy. Terrence tells him never to mess with Frankie again, and he says, whoa, 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 for like 400 times.
Whoa,
And then he walks out of the room, points at the kid in the hallway, and says,
oh yeah.
For absolutely no fucking reason. What a great character.
He even says, oh yeah, at the police station later. It's like, we're good? Oh yeah?
Remember me? I was the oh yeah guy.
I was the oh yeah.
The Kool-Aid guy?
He was the Kool-Aid guy.
At this point in the film, I was kind of feeling like it had turned into like a road trip movie or something. But maybe that was just my mind trying to come up with any reason for why the story had to involve Terrence and a kid and a dog and Frankie going to Biloxi and back for what appeared to be no good reason. Like, anyway, the coke prostitute with a black eye and the guy saying, oh yeah, must have lowered this kid's confidence in Terrence's ability to keep him safe, because he bails immediately. Terrence asks a guy who sort of looks like Paul Schrader in a bar the score of the game he bet $2,000 on, and finds out he's about to lose his money again while Frankie and the kid head into a coffee shop. By the time Terrence gets done yelling at the random guy at the bar, the kid has split. He searches frantically around for him around the casino, eating up several minutes of precious screen time, checking not one but two separate bathrooms in real time to show that the kid's not there. Then he goes to a bus station and then drives around the hooker junkie flaming trash can alley from Bringing Out the Dead looking for a 15-year-old boy. But unsurprisingly, the search comes up empty.
Why would he think that the kid went there?
I think he just wanted to go look at hookers.
Hey, let's go look at some hookers, huh? Then Ving Rhames shows up and
that?
holds a wad of
that
cash.
used to be you, right? Huh? Remember when I picked you up from here and you were just like old times?
Let's go back to your humble beginnings.
This is where I found you.
Oh,
Brought
the
you
kid.
up. from the gutter to the high rise.
So the only person who can help solve the case he's now working on is gone due to him being a fucked up junkie with a hooker girlfriend. Oh, exactly what everyone thought was going to happen. So Terrence heads back to the old folks' home to question the same old ladies we saw earlier. He creepily hides behind a door looking like a vampire and shaving with an electric razor for some reason, and then asks where the African lady's grandson is. He gets more and more... It's just...
This is my favorite scene in the whole fucking movie, man.
He gets more and more pissed when she won't tell him, and the old white lady asks for the name of his supervisor, so he decides to take the investigation up a notch. Yeah, he says something about, like, I've been polite, but maybe that's my fucking problem or something like that.
Yeah.
I've been too polite.
Up till this point, I've been trying to be nice, and I think it's hindering my ability to effectively investigate this. You know, like whatever that was. Like, holy shit, dude.
So apparently this is all ad-lib, right? This whole scene was all him ad-libbing?
Yeah. This was all Nick Cage, completely improvised.
A complete departure from anything else he's done in the movie so far. In a movie full of him doing bad things. But
this is, like I said, this is my favorite scene in the whole movie.
I think it's the most memorable one.
Yeah.
For sure. Aside from the GoPro shots of lizards for no reason. He pulls the oxygen tubes out of the old Southern Belle's nose and tells them, nobody saw me come in. No one knows I'm here. This old woman is going to run out of air, and you're going to have a tough time convincing people it wasn't you who did it to her. And even if you do convince them that you didn't kill her on purpose, you're still going to have a tough time selling that you took care of her worth a fuck.
He's smacking her hand away the whole time.
Yeah, that's right.
You didn't fucking...
This was... I got full quarter of the fucks from this movie came from this scene. Again, he asks her where the fuck he is and then pulls his gun and points it at her head. She finally tells him he's on a plane to London while the lady in the chair gasps her last breaths. He gives her back the oxygen and then calms himself down. Thank God, because he was about to lose control there for a second. Oh, wait. No, then he screams, maybe you should drop dead, you selfish cunt. You ever think about your kids or your grandkids sucking up their inheritance with that fucked oxygen tube? You fucks, I hate you both. And then he takes out his gun and screams,
I should fucking both. Just right now, I should fucking kill you fucking both.
And then he says that they're the reason this country is going down the drain and heads off to steal some Jell-O from the cafeteria and spit in an old man's face, I'm guessing. Or maybe he's just going to sit down with John Rambo for a chat by the window.
Kronk is good.
Yeah, that scene was completely improvised by Nick Cage. Not a single line of dialogue was even written.
Wow.
I just wonder how those ladies had to react off of that. Like,
genuinely, he was literally killing that lady.
Yank they got a real lady on oxygen and he pulls the tubes out.
She's really dying on film.
He's got a real gun that he's pointing at people.
I mean, that seems like something Werner Herzog would be. We're going to make sure that the gun is loaded for this scene. We get a genuine... Oh, God. Oh, man. Oh. So sorry. I'm so sorry, people.
I don't know how we come back for that.
Well, to bring it back to the scene, I kind of get it. That's what he's ad-libbing. Like, that's how Terrence feels, because maybe Terrence's parents didn't leave him any money or something, and he's got all this money problems and shit. So, of course, he goes off about, like, you're sucking up their fucking inheritance with your fucking medical bills, and you won't just die.
Yeah, because obviously his dad has no money.
Yeah.
And they don't really give any background on his mom.
Get that sweet-ass plantation house.
That's true. Next, we see Terrence and the captain meeting with Anthony Goodhusband, who isn't pleased to find out he has a super fake-sounding last name, and that Terrence also lost their only witness. He says that they can't force the kid to testify if he doesn't want to, so he suggests just letting Big Fate go. Nick Cage screams at him in his dog-eat-dog Humphrey Bogart voice for some reason on the way out.
You know what's involved, right? The chicken shit hump. Take it easy.
And then the case is essentially closed since they have no legal way of bringing down Big Fate without the kid. In the car, the captain asks what happened at the old folks' home, and Nick maintains his inexplicable accent while lying to him about what happened to the old ladies. The captain says public integrity is waiting for them at the station, so he'd better have his story straight since the old woman's son is a congressman. The old white woman, the one they
Yeah.
tried to murder by pulling her oxygen tube out.
Which, like, okay, we'll get to it, but like, she just don't remember too good was the explanation as to why that's dropped later on. It's like,
but it's not dropped.
It's good to like kind of mention that here because this goes nowhere. It just is dropped completely. But then the guy who goes, "Oh yeah," ends up being the problem later on. And I think it was just because they had to wrap it all up in 2 minutes in one scene later on in the movie.
And give a big happy ending.
Yeah, it does. No, you're right. It does end up meaning nothing because he does end up.
It's dropped.
So I was thinking about them taking his shit away, but then
but
spoiler alert.
in that scene, they're like,
I mean, the movie's
she don't remember too good. So
the movie's really setting it up that like everything's unraveling because of all of his fuck ups have finally caught up to him. You know, and it's like it's a tragedy where somebody starts,
which is what happens
and they lose everything.
In the original Bad Lieutenant. Everything unravels, and it just leads to him, spoilers, dying at the end, and that doesn't happen in this movie. Just everything just suddenly works out magically. But we'll get to it.
He's questioned at the station, and he denies threatening the old woman while still sporting a 40s detective accent.
Well, who's saying that? Mrs. Faringer? Is it true? I think she might be suffering from a little dementia.
Why? did they film these scenes first and then decide to drop the accent later on filming? I don't know. Like, my wife was saying maybe it's when he's lying, he's like putting on the fake accent. Like
maybe
it could be like he's so drugged out that like he can't even effectively lie anymore. He has to like pretend he's another person to do it. You know?
I think Nick just likes that accent.
Did not. Like that's. I think I mentioned it later, but like it kind of sounds like Tony Clifton, you know, Andy Kaufman's like alter ego when he shows up.
Yes, that's what I thought too. That whatever with the guy with the glasses, right? And then the mustache and stuff. Yeah, he sounds exactly like that. I couldn't remember who that was, but I had that image in my head of him playing that character. I was thinking Jim Carrey, but it's because Jim Carrey played Andy Kaufman playing that guy.
Yeah.
So it's the same fucking voice.
Tony Clifton.
Out of the blue, like nowhere.
It kind of starts in that previous scene when he's, so it starts with like the attorney and then it goes to him talking to the captain and then it continues into this scene and it kind of continues off and on here for like 40 minutes.
Yeah. Ned confronts Terrence about the $5,000 he owes him in front of everyone at the station, and McDonagh explains away being screamed at by this bookie by saying he's a little late on his rent, and then a woman says his prostitute girlfriend called. I noticed he dropped the accent for one line in that scene.
Yeah, so he's doing the accent, and then when he addresses everybody loudly, no accent.
No accent.
I mean, I think that was what he was going for, was like, when he's doing his drugs, he talks weird because he's got like a half droop mouth because it's numb, because, if he's doing heroin is, basically morphine and he's numbing his face.
Yeah.
Which I know is a thing from drug addicts is their faces will get numb. But
like putting on Novocaine or whatever and then trying to talk. Like hanging down.
But that makes him talk like a fucking junior
kind of that impression you talk out of the side of your mouth, see?
Yeah,
to get that.
No, I did not.
Bogart impression.
Sounds like it, yeah.
Which is funny because, like, I'm pretty sure it was just Humphrey Bogart that talked like that, but now that's how everybody assumes everyone in the 40s talks. It's very
maybe Bogart was on heroin the whole time.
Wouldn't be surprising.
Here's looking at you, kid. It's a fucking lizard over there. Just imagine Casablanca that just cut to a black and white shot of an iguana.
One of these fucking lizards on my coffee table. See? Get him out of here.
Oh my God.
Terrence heads back to Crack Roxy's to find her being held by a guy named Dave and some Fast and Furious extras. Dave says he owes him $50,000 since Terrence took $10,000 off the guy who just kept saying "whoa" over and over again. Terrence suggests that they just call it even, and he gives back the $10,000. But Dave says alternatively they could just shoot the dog or cut up Frankie's face. Terrence says he doesn't give a shit about the dog, but tells Dave if he wants his money, he's going to have a hard time making $50,000 if he can't sell his hooker girlfriend. So I guess he's like her pimp too now.
Yeah, I guess.
Always has been. And
maybe it's just like my Ghost Rider story. Like this is Johnny and Roxy's way of making ends meet.
Dave says,
by the way, that dog just disappears after this, right? I don't think we ever see this dog again.
I don't think
so either. Maybe they did.
Either. Maybe they did. Yeah.
That's when he goes in the other room.
We had an accident.
They couldn't bang Roxy, so they shot the dog. Sorry.
They banged the dog.
They banged the
dog. Dave says that he'll give Terrence 2 days to make sure to round up the money, and then asks if the Fast and Furious extras can go family style on Frankie. Terrence says sure, but they'll have to slam her when Dave comes back for the money since Frankie already has cock on the way in 15 minutes. Terrence decides to take Frankie to his father's house, and she seems to question the god-awful life choices she's made to get to the position she's currently in. Whee! What a predicament!
Act 3. Time to resolve some shit.
Over at Terrence's dad's place, Frankie and Genevieve scream at each other since Frankie brought coke into their house, and Crack Roxy says she'll stab her in the heart, which is an instinct I can identify with just by the sound of Genevieve's voice.
My husband is trying to quit drinking. You bring this shit into our house?
Genevieve dumps the drugs all over the floor while Terrence tries to calm the situation, and Frankie calls her a drunk, which she clearly is. She has a beer in her hands at every single shot. Which is like, it's funny, I'll mention it when we get there, but like she is totally against drugs at this point, and then later it's just kind of like, oh yeah, we're birds of a feather. We're both fucked up when she sees Terrence doing drugs. But we'll get there. Suddenly there's a knock at the door, and the public integrity guys are waiting outside his dad's place for some reason rather than waiting for him at the station or something.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Just there. Well, this is when they're cracking down on him because of the woe guy's uncle or whatever finally got to him and like probably told him to go to bust these guys.
Yeah,
bust
that's
him.
true. The only way to make this situation trashier would be if Terrence was in a wife beater, and instead of a house, Genevieve and Pat lived in a double wide.
I feel like an old plantation house is the equivalent.
Yeah, kind of. Terrence screams at the guys investigating whether or not he kind of sort of tried to kill an old lady, but they tell him she's decided to drop the case against him since she doesn't remember so good. Well, that's convenient.
Got to get that plot thread tied off, and they got too many more things to worry about.
Yeah. Like I said, I think it was just so that they could tie that up so that everything could just magically be fixed in one scene later on. They still take his guns since the guy who said, "Oh yeah," is hung all the way from here to City Hall. So there will be a hearing to see if he gets to keep his job or not. So his dad owns properties all over the Gulf Coast, and he knows the mayor or something of New Orleans, I guess. Mm-hmm. Terrence fights back tears as he removes his comically oversized hand cannon from the front of his slacks, and the investigators let him know that he's on modified duty, so he can't carry a gun around anymore. These guys seem pretty smug about pinning a case on him based on the word of a guy who they know was with a prostitute when Terrence sort of pushed him a couple times. Terrence says,
"A man without a gun, that's not a man."
And his dad tells him to just quit his job and give up. His dad seems like a real go-getter.
In the rundown plantation house and take care of the dog.
I mean, if that was another made-up line, like Nick Cage, just a man without a gun is not a man. I don't know.
Seem to have anything to do with the character, it doesn't really come back.
I mean, not at all. Yeah,
but he only really uses the gun to threaten old ladies. So like he's,
As a man does.
Yeah, that's what men do. He does get his gun back like almost immediately after this. Though.
Yeah.
Munt goes and gets it. Frankie says she can't stay with the drunk bitch who screams at her nonstop, and Terrence's dad, who says the only thing he's capable of doing in life is go to AA meetings and then sit on the couch. It's no wonder Terrence is all fucked up. Like this is his role model. All I can really do is sit on the couch and then wait for my next AA meeting. Otherwise, he'll drink, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So he brings in the most volatile situation he could possibly bring in to this house.
I coked that hole.
Terrence takes Frankie to his special place, which happens to be an old shed in the backyard.
It looks like an old slave shack.
Yeah, it's like a kitchen.
That's what I thought it was.
She's absolutely enthralled by a story he tells her about how before his mom died, she bought him a metal detector and he found a silver spoon in the yard that he was convinced was left by pirates. Like Eva Mendes is just like, oh, what a magical thing.
In this shitty cobweb-filled, dirty shack that hasn't been cleaned in 30 years.
Yeah. To be fair, I would be impressed too. He goes on, tells her that he used that metal detector to find the bell of a ship in the Antarctic.
I don't think that would work. But yeah, sure, okay.
Sure, okay.
Just above the surface. All right.
Yeah, it's under like an inch of snow.
It's under an inch of snow.
And the inside is preserved perfectly.
Yeah. He hid the spoon in the murder shed somewhere, and he's never been able to find it. I'm guessing if he did find it, he just used it to heat up some heroin, so maybe it's for the best.
It's just lucky heroin spoon.
Yeah.
100%.
That's why he's obsessed with finding it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, all that nonsense seemed to be enough for Frankie to decide to stay with Terrence's weirdo dad and drunk stepmom. So she just stays. He leaves. She just stays there. Yeah, like why did she decide? Okay, never mind.
We don't have time to deal with her in the plot anymore.
Yeah, she's just out.
Yeah, that's it.
Back at the station, the captain gives this cracked out lunatic his dream job of managing the property room, where 5 minutes later he tries to figure out how to steal drugs without being seen by the cameras.
His first time being in there, he's like up against the wall trying to splinter cell his way around. Avoid the cameras.
Just don't even bother calling the cops if you're ever in New Orleans, is what I'm getting out of this movie. Just kind of pointless. He sends Munt, nice of Michael Shannon to get a second scene in this film, to go get Terrence's gun that was just confiscated from him like 2 seconds ago from a different storage spot. So he's not implicated in whatever easily solvable crime Terrence is about to commit. Because Munt is like totally like, God, stop doing what you're obviously doing.
Yeah.
So I'm going to get busted too. That's just what he says earlier. He's like, I can't do this for you anymore. And that's why he tries to get Vicky Valancourt to help him out. And then he just does it himself later on. A couple detectives come in with some heroin they confiscated as evidence, and Terrence steals it immediately. By the way, it's worth noting that he's back to talking like Humphrey Bogart in this scene again.
Yeah.
So, go to the storage warehouse in Metairie. That way you're not here. And while you're there, get me my .44 Magnum and bring it to me. Okay?
Actually, he sounds like the character Andy Kaufman used to use as his alter ego, Tony Clifton, as we mentioned earlier. Yeah.
I don't know why he's so upset. This really is his dream job.
Like, it really is, yeah.
Working in possessions or whatever they called it.
He later, like, the captain calls him his best detective. Or maybe it was just before this. And I'm like, this is the best detective you have?
I mean, you've seen
this
the other ones. Yeah. They're not great.
Hunched over lunatic, tweaking every second.
Nosferatu.
Yeah. I mean, he solves the case.
He does. Illegally, but sure. Terrence heads straight to Big Fates, where he's enjoying a nice quiet meal with a few pals, including our old friend, Small-Statured Thug, and some other guys. I'm pretty sure one of them was named I.B. Bangin' or something. I didn't see G in that scene, but he might have been in there.
I thought he was there.
I think he's there, yeah.
Terrence asks him to
Little Person Man.
Terrence asks him to step outside, where he offers Big Fate protection from getting busted by other cops in exchange for $15,000 per shipment of drugs. Safe to say, Terrence has either finally embraced a life of crime or he's playing a con on Big Fate that will play out for the rest of the film. Spoilers. Both are plausible at this point.
I mean, yeah, it could go either way.
Yeah, I think that was what they were trying to do, was like, you're trying to question whether or not he's actually just decided, you know what, fuck it, I'll just go full on bad lieutenant.
Yep.
Big Fate asks why he should trust him, and Terrence says he'll supply him with some information the next day, and he can decide whether or not to go to the next step from there. He asks Terrence, what about the murders? You don't give a fuck about them no more? And Terrence says,
look at me. Now look at you. I never did.
The fuck does that mean? What did that mean? What exactly was he trying to say with that? Like, look at you.
I think he's trying to say, like, look how successful you are and how rich you are. And look how run down and beaten I am, you know, as a cop. Yeah. You think I really ever give a shit? Like,
yeah.
Mate, that's what I took from it. Like,
I like
look
that.
At your life and look at my life. Do you think I really cared? Yeah. No, I wouldn't be where I was if I did.
Okay. I like that. He gives the two detectives who dropped off the heroin earlier the weight, and they instantly think it's too low, but then go ahead and tell this crackhead what they are going to do that day. They're doing like a sting operation. He gives their info about a drug bust of Fate and his goons, and they trust him when one of their guys gets busted because of the sting. Big Fate says he needs to make a quick stop while Terrence is in the car with him, and he casually ignores them dumping a body in the river. They chat about how this spot's
right off
going
the shore too. Like it's not even out. Like they couldn't have rented a boat and go out and drop them where the alligators. They just throw them off where people could wander around.
Throw them off in 1 foot of water. They chat about how this spot that's currently being used to dispose of bodies will be prime real estate and agree to go into business together. So one piece of information is all it took for this guy to trust him and completely to the point of dumping bodies in front of him.
And becoming business partners in real estate, I guess. I don't know what the hell.
We're going to make a mall, Terrence.
Yeah, I'm going to get some condos from here to across as far as the eye can see.
Just picture it, a 7-Eleven and a strip mall right there. Be awesome. Next, we see Terrence watch a drug deal go down between some gangbangers and a star football player named Ronaldo Hayes. Terrence flips on his lights, shakes down the player, has him blow crack smoke into his mouth, and then has sex with him right there in the street. No, wait, that was earlier. And later, somehow?
Yeah.
Terrence tells Ronaldo,
"You bought dope. I want you to buy dope."
He asks the guy to step out of his vehicle. He frisks him and finds like the smallest amount of weed you could possibly buy. And Terrence says he'll let him off with a warning if he makes sure that the University of Louisiana football team wins by 5 or less points or loses altogether against Texas in their next game. So yeah, okay, so this lends credence to he's gone full on bad lieutenant.
Right.
Which this is illegal as fuck.
Rig sports games.
Yeah, and
blackmail people.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes him hard to root for, even when everything just falls into place later on. Ronaldo agrees since his life will be ruined by the thimble full of weed he bought, and Terrence heads off to practice as Humphrey Bogart or something. End of scene. That's it. That's all it was. That night, Terrence drives Big Fate, G, and rhymes with Fidget around after they make a big drug deal with the Taliban or something.
I don't know. Yeah.
Terrence says, Hey, sup? Where's the 15,000? And when Big Fate says he'll get it for him, he says,
"Did I not do what I said I was going to do?"
And when Big Fate tells him to relax, Terrence pulls his gun out from his crotch and puts it to Big Fate's head. The barrel of that thing must smell awful, man. Just sweating in those pants all day. Right on his crotch.
Also, that would be super uncomfortable to have in your waistband
while you're
as
sitting.
You're sat.
Yeah.
Driving a car. Yeah.
This was another thing I think they lifted from the original Bad Lieutenant is he pulls his gun and there's this iconic shot of Harvey Keitel pointing his gun directly into the camera. And I think that's what they were kind of emulating in this, but I'm sure Werner Herzog was like, no, we're going to do it all in one shot. So we don't need an alternate take and a different camera setup. And then Nick Cage was like, you know what you're doing.
Finally.
Somebody who knows what they're doing.
I want to imagine him saying that as the guy's like filming the iguanas. Like, this guy knows his stuff. What he's doing.
I can get behind this guy.
You know, more movies need low quality, wide angle shots of lizards from an inch away from their face for no reason.
He says he'll have his money the next day at his house. So he's already given Terrence like access to his house. Just come and go, man. Take whatever you want from the fridge, whatever.
Guy just pulled a gun on him in the car.
Yeah. Then Terrence asks for a cut of the dope. Big Fate gives him a baggie, I guess he'd already made from the huge bag that he was holding like a second ago. And then Terrence tells Terrence to put away the gun before he kills someone. Terrence then says, I'll kill all of you to the break of dawn. Then he laughs like a lunatic and says,
To the break of dawn, baby.
And then they all have a nice chuckle. I guess it's like you have to be a lunatic to be this lieutenant who's going against the law, and like so now they trust him because he's obviously fucking crazy.
Yeah, I guess.
That was such an off-putting scene.
It was so weird. To the break of dawn, baby.
Like they were all like nervously laughing because the guy just pulled a gun on everyone in the car and is also controlling the car, so he could just kill them all if he wanted to.
He could. I mean, maybe they're still trying to figure out if they can trust him at this point. I don't know. That was a weird scene. Terrence heads to place a bet with Wormtongue, but first he says,
Suck, don't talk motherfucker, suck.
He pays Ned back the $5,000 he owes him and then bets another $5,000 on Louisiana to beat the spread. Quick fact, in case you were paying attention to that whole exchange with Ronaldo and know anything about sports betting, he just made the opposite bet of what the film is implying that he made, and spoilers, later wins. Louisiana is a 6-point favorite, and McDonagh is betting on Louisiana, which means he expects them to win by more than 6 points, not less. Had he wanted the score to be 6-point spread or less, he would have bet on Texas. So,
okay,
Louisiana had to cover the spread of 6 points in order to win, but they only cover it by 3, which he wins $10,000. But it's actually the opposite. So,
yeah, I didn't understand.
I couldn't follow along, but I don't understand
yeah.
sports or betting. So
because he's like, I want you to lose.
Yeah.
So if he bets on Louisiana, they would have to win
by
and
6.
also win by 6 points or more in order to cover that spread.
They're crushing them, but then Texas comes back and closes the gap by 3, and he still wins big money.
Yeah. He heads to his dad's where he offers Frankie some of the heroin he just got from Big Fate, but she tells him she's decided to get clean thanks to going to one AA meeting with Terrence's dad. Man, that Bill W. can really work some magic in here. She's a prostitute, by the way. Just remember, she's a prostitute who's high on drugs through the entire film up to this point. And even has like a huge baggie in her purse. But I guess like we see one scene where she's like sitting on the steps and she's kind of reflecting. So I guess, and she also had that moment where she's staring in the mirror. So she's like trying to decide to I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Terrence is pretty disappointed that she won't be snorting uncut heroin with him, and he seems to have a moment of reflection on what an absolute fuck-up he's become while heading to her place to grab her some clothes, like when he's heading up the elevator. That was, like, I feel like a lot of movies that fail just forget to include scenes like this, where it's like, there's not much to this. It's just he's staring at the floor, and we kind of hold on it for a little bit. And the whole, like, you can imply 1,000 things in that shot. And I feel like a lot of films just kind of gloss over those scenes because they're like, well, it's kind of pointless and it's short and it's you'll get it. But I feel like as an audience, you don't really get it without these little tie-in scenes.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
He finds a picture she has of him at her place from when he was promoted to lieutenant for not letting that guy drown at the beginning of the movie. She keeps the picture in a drawer since I'm guessing she doesn't want one of her clients spotting it while they're pounding her. In more ways than one. No.
Whoa. Whoa.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Whoa. Whoa.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah. On his way out, he's spotted by Dave and the Fast and Furious extras who tail him to Big Fate's house. All right, here we go. This whole scene is just absolute magic. This is the best scene in the whole movie, hands down. At Big Fate's, he weighs out the most recent score that Terrence helped them make. G lights Big Fate's crack pipe while we pan down to see that there's a shotgun under the desk that is currently aimed at Terrence's balls, which I guess they're trying to potentially finish the job that Terrence's 44 never could. Like, Terrence moves to the desk and takes a hit from the crack pipe because you don't just smoke crack in front of a junkie and expect them to not join in. By the way, Nick Cage smoking crack is absolutely amazing sight to behold. Like, he asks how much they paid for the cocaine Big Fate just scored, and then asks for 25% of the dope uncut rather than the $15,000 they originally agreed upon, while shaking back and forth like a Tickle Me Elmo doll. Big Fate says, to borrow retail terms, Terrence gets the drugs at cost rather than retail markup, so he doesn't make anything off of it. Terrence says,
that's one way of looking at it. The other is you get to keep 75% and not go to prison for the rest of your life.
Because he's high on crack.
Yeah.
I guess his unhinged shaking back and forth insanity convinced Big Fate, so he cuts open the dope and gives him his share.
Yeah, why don't they just kill him?
I think Big Fate was planning on killing him.
Yeah.
And I think that was part of the implication with the shotgun under the desk.
Yeah, you're right.
Was that he was going to take him out, but at the same time, he's not paying attention. He's not like paying attention to the gun. I don't know. It's kind of a weirdly shot scene where it's like, it's almost like they're just letting us in on the fact that there's a shotgun under the desk, not necessarily that it's going to be used to kill Terrence. But in hindsight, Big Fate should have killed Terrence.
Right.
Would have saved them a lot of grief.
Yeah. Then as he's spilling the drugs all over the place, he says, and I quote, "Hey, did I ever tell you the story about the naked elk? Naked elk, yeah. I was watching TV, the game, right? Ronaldo Hayes, he gets tossed the ball, and he was running with it and running, and he jumps over 3 linebackers in midair. He sprouted antlers like a gazelle, like an elk. He landed again, and he ran, and he scored a touchdown while laughing like an absolute fucking maniac."
I'm glad you wrote that down because I couldn't follow the story.
The fuck?
I thought he said a different word.
What?
I thought
an
he
elk
used a different
instead of elk. The naked elk.
I didn't think he said naked. I thought he said, and the whole time I was watching that scene, I was like, they're just not going to acknowledge that he's dropping the N-bomb?
No, it's definitely naked.
Yeah.
I looked it up.
Oh, thank God.
Just to make sure I wasn't mishearing the whole thing. But yeah.
Yeah, I was really, and I was like, this is kind of out of character for the character, and then also for the film. But we've watched
and the
some
people
films.
he's surrounded by right now.
Yeah, but he's cracked out of his mind, so it wouldn't surprise me. That's why I thought, like, why aren't
Yes.
they reacting to him dropping the N-bomb?
Naked. He was saying naked. Naked elk.
Thank God. Thank God. Oh,
G
God.
correctly says, "That's that crack talking." And Terrence says, "Hey, listen, I'm not worried about you, so don't be concerned about me, because I'm not concerned about if you're not concerned, so don't be worried because I'm not really concerned." It's so hard to like say it the way he does, because he says it like 1,000 words a second. I'm not really worried about you because you don't be concerned about me, because he's on crack.
I could tell that the kid just had some experience with La Coca in his real life. You can draw from that.
Or he's He's at least studied.
Yeah.
He's studied
Been
crackheads.
directly
that's for
involved with some firsthand knowledge one way or the other.
Yeah. Big Fate says he is concerned because if this fucking lunatic who is high on crack and unhinged as hell drops dead, then he has to worry about a guy from Africa moving in on his territory. Just like what happened before. The guy from Senegal. Terrence says,
Easy, because I'm not easy to eat.
Then Big Fate says what we're all thinking. This fucking guy. Big Fate's baby mama comes in and says she needs to go to the store. So these guys who are smoking crack and have pounds of cocaine on the table should watch the kid. Can you watch the baby? Seems like a good spot. Big Fate tells her to get the fuck up out of here and throws some shit at her. I guess while this was going on, Terrence switches to the crack pipe he got from that girl that he kind of sort of raped at the Gators retreat. The crack pipe that she had. I believe that was the same crack pipe.
I think that's where it came from.
I think that's where he got it.
Yeah, he got it from her. Yep.
Big Fate asks, what the fuck is that?
It's my lucky crack pipe.
You a crazy motherfucker.
You don't have a lucky crack pipe?
No.
I mean, what kind of loser doesn't have a lucky crack pipe? Seriously. Just some generic crack pipe? Keep your lucky one around. Big Fate takes a big old hit and suddenly Dave and the Fast and Furious extras break into the room. They draw guns and Dave says Terrence owes him $50,000 plus his two friends were supposed to have a sexual experience of their choosing with an attractive woman. Terrence offers Dave his cut of the dope, but Dave decides he wants all of it. He says, there was a time when I would have taken my fair share and left the rest on the table, but I never got rich enough to retire. I'm stuck doing this shit, and I'm not young anymore, which is something that I say every day on the way to work. Dave's main goon goes to take the drugs, and for some reason, Werner Herzog sticks a harmonica in a tailpipe and revs the engine for the next 3 solid minutes. Big Fate blasts the main goon with the shotgun under the table, then says Dave to his retirement, which he was asking for, with another blast to the chest. He, G, and M-word blast all 3 of the Goombas, and Terrence says,
Shoot him again.
What fool?
His soul's still dancing.
We cut to a hallucination Terrence has of a guy breakdancing in the room while loud singing starts, but it's basically just someone going, woo, yee, ah, yee, woo, wee, whoop-a, whoop, 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 over and over and over.
I thought they sampled Bjork's new stuff. I didn't did that guy look like Maynard, James Keenan?
Yeah,
the guy
dancing at a mohawk.
He was supposed to
Wearing
look
Dave's
like
clothes.
Dave, I
But he
guess.
had a mohawk.
But that's what Dave's soul looks like.
He's bald.
Mercifully, they shoot the breakdancer, and then an iguana walks across the room while we slowly zoom on a Nick Cage smiling like he's just enjoyed a man-sized portion of crack. And scene. Quick fact, the dancing soul scene is an obvious homage to Werner Herzog's early classic Strosvek. Strosvek. I've never seen it. I don't know.
I don't either.
Maybe it's great. Which features an iconic scene of a dancing chicken set to the exact same song.
Oh my God.
Old Lost John that was in this scene. Woo! Wee! I love that song. Like I had to turn it down so much just to enjoy that scene. Ow, my ears. My ears hurt. And the harmonica, Jesus Christ. It's too much. Too much, man. Back at the station, Terrence tells the overacting cop from earlier to stop by the already thoroughly searched apartment where the family was killed to see if he can find any new evidence. While giggling to himself and sporting that hyper-focused driving through a school zone while drunk look on his face, he tells the detective exactly what he should be looking for, exactly where it's at, and whose DNA to test off of it. And the guy's like, oh, you had a vision, huh? Because he's like, obviously, he knows that he planted this evidence at the scene. I guess these guys went to the same police academy Kelsey Grammer from Grand Isle did. In order to subscribe to no big city nonsense, like not disregarding suspiciously obviously placed evidence. Terrence heads to his dad's house to drop off Crack Roxy's clothes, but she's on her way to rehab. She's just getting all cleaned up.
Or can't remember.
I guess, I don't know. Genevieve is suddenly cool with people doing coke or heroin or whatever the hell is going on in her house because she catches Terrence with like a pound of the shit. He's got like a huge bag of it. She says they're birds of a feather, you know, since she drinks beer. Snorting heroin, Bud Light, same difference. You know.
Tastes the same.
Tastes the same. They watch the game that Terrence dropped $5,000 on, and he finds out Ronaldo took himself out of the game, so he has no bearing on the outcome. I guess that was Ronaldo's choice. Louisiana's up by 18 in the second quarter and dominating the game, so he assumes there's no chance in hell that he'll win the bet. So he says he'll kill him while nodding out on his heroin or whatever the hell he's snorting. Which, by the way, he would have been ecstatic in that scene because he's like, oh, I beat the spread. All right.
Right.
They're just kicking their ass, and then later would be really upset when he found out they only won by 3. Okay, here's where things go completely off the rails. Or on the rails? Things
on rails. Doing rails.
Doing rails. Terrence has been an absolute piece of shit this entire movie, but everything just suddenly goes perfect for him all at once. And yeah.
Same exact scene, like in.
I guess they wanted to wrap this bitch up in a hurry and decided to just give him a happy Scooby-Doo type ending here.
That's how I feel.
He comes in the station and he finds guy at his desk who says that things between them got out of hand and he has no beef with them anymore since those gangsters are now dead. I guess they've found out that they disappeared. I don't know. Like, how would he have found out already? Like, they just were shot the night before. At least that's the implication. Is like it was just last night.
He called his dad and asked his dad, and his dad's like, "Yeah, those guys I sent after him,
I haven't found them.
Never showed up again. I guess they're dead." And that spooks him.
They've been missing for 8 hours now. Where could they be? He leaves, and Ned the bookie just walks right in after him and says Texas came back and got close enough to cover the spread, so he won $10,000. Oh, and Ned's daughter's tickets were just taken care of by Vicky Valancourt. So that's all cleared up now.
And not only that, but he like pulls out the $10,000 and spreads it and hands it to him in his office in front of all these other cops.
Yeah.
They're all like,
As he walks out of the room, the captain walks in with a huge cheesy grin on his face and says they found Big Fate's DNA crack pipe, or DNA on a crack pipe that miraculously just appeared out of thin air at the crime scene.
Okay. He doesn't walk in. He pops in from the side like a fucking cartoon character.
So in the span of 2 minutes, every single problem in Terrence's life was suddenly cleared up just like that. What a great morning he's having. Just
after we've been spending an hour and 45 minutes watching him destroy his life.
Yeah.
Through his own actions.
This is where we, I think, collectively all had big problems with this movie. It's like,
yeah,
it was pretty solid up to this point, and like if it would have had a good conclusion to the story that actually made sense with the story, then I think we all collectively would have given it a much better score than we're probably going to give. That night, Terrence heads to find Frankie at his dad's house, I think. It's not really clear where he's at. I think he's at that house again, because I think it's the same spot where he was snorting the coke or heroin or whatever, where he shows her that he found the silver spoon he's been looking for years. God, this guy's having the luckiest day ever. He drank that potion from fucking Harry Potter that morning or something. He cooks up some heroin and injects her while she screams, "I don't want to be a junkie prostitute anymore." As he laughs hysterically in her face while he smokes crack. No, actually, they have a super cute Hallmark moment where he gives her the spoon and they stare at this crusty thing in the moonlight for a few minutes. It's
I
like
think she was sleeping
everything's-
like in that shack. Like that's where I thought that scene took place. That's what it looks like.
I don't think there was a bed in that shack.
But it looked like they were just in this. It's like a dirty ass room that she's staying in. So I thought it was like.
I thought it was that
staying in
room
the shack.
from their house that she was sleeping in previously. I thought it was that
Maybe
room.
It was. I don't know. Either whatever. Sorry.
But I thought she had
The
left.
next, she went to rehab, but she's back now.
she's
That
back.
was what I thought.
But this is later the next day.
Yeah,
he went to
it's
work
like
the
2
next
days
morning.
later.
Yeah.
She's cute.
All his
Yeah.
problems got sorted out, and then he found the spoon and was showing it, waking her up in the middle of the night to show her the spoon.
This is why I'm questioning, is it possible that, okay, so they shoot his soul in that scene with Big Fate, but we just like shoot him again, his soul's still dancing. What if that was him getting shot? And this is all in his head. The ending of this movie, it's the only thing that makes sense. Like everything just is perfect at once. It's like he's just imagining everything being
That's where
amazing.
I thought this was going. That he OD'd next to his stepmom.
Oh, after that scene? Okay.
Yeah. I thought he OD'd next to his stepfirst mom.
Okay. Either way, that's the only thing that I will accept is like, this is the only way that this could actually happen like this.
Yeah.
The case gets dropped. He wins $10,000 and solves the case all in the span of 2 minutes. So, and then finds that silver spoon he's been looking for forever. And then his wife, he ends up marrying the prostitute, and they all get clean together at the same time. And he wins an accommodation, and he gets promoted to captain. Everything's just perfect. And she gets pregnant, and they get a house in the suburbs, and everything's amazing. What? The next day, Terrence and the rest of the police department bust into Big Fate's to arrest him. I'm not sure why they didn't just arrest him after they found the crack pipe. Like, why did they wait another day? I guess to shoehorn in that stupid spoon scene. Like, that had to go in there somewhere. And it had to happen at night because that's how they filmed it. Val Kilmer is nice enough to make an appearance in the film again. He tells the rest of the cops to check the place for evidence, and then Terrence tells him to cuff him, and Stevie says no, puts Big Fate's gun next to him, and says, within earshot of several other police officers, here's what happens. Before we can cuff him, he goes for the weapon, we shoot this prick, and steal his shit. Is he talking about the drugs? Them just robbing his place?
With all these cops there, they're just going to ransack his house.
Maybe they take over his drug operation, him and Terrence. This was so out of left field. In addition to everything else here, this is just like, okay, so Stevie's been kind of a shithead, but he was kind of the nice guy in the first scene, but he's been kind of a shithead in all the other scenes that he shows up.
Yeah, he was like, he wanted the nudes of the guy's wife, and then he wanted to let the other guy die in the prison. Whatever. But that seemed more like jokingly too. Like, I don't know.
Just so out of left field. Big Fate asks Terrence what's going on since they had a good thing going, and Stevie says, "You're wrong, baby." He acts like he likes you because he likes to get high. Terrence stops Stevie from killing Big Fate, so they cuff him. That's it. End of scene.
It's just like they wrote it. It's just so artificial to show like Terrence is not a bad guy. Like,
yeah,
the old Terrence from 3 days ago would have totally planted a gun and then shot the
guy.
guy and then stole all his drugs.
Well, Stevie's like, "Oh, you've gone this far. Why not go to murder?" And I think that was where I think as an audience we were supposed to wonder whether or not he's going to choose to continue to be bad or maybe fix his life at this point now that things are miraculously going perfect for him. I don't know. I don't know what the hell the point was of that. It just was so random. We cut to 1 year later where Terrence, the drug addict lunatic, gets promoted to captain in a ceremony just like the one where he was promoted to lieutenant. Frankie, his dad, and fuck it, why not, Genevieve are all clean now. And we know Terrence is clean as well because he turns down some wine at the ceremony. They all just drink their sparkling water and knit or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
We'll just stick to our sparkling water and sit alone here and talk about the weather or whatever.
Well, he's got a pregnant wife, so she can't drink. So
yeah. Frankie, the prostitute, is pregnant with Terrence's baby, so I guess our clients are going to have to use the other entrances for a while.
Oh my God.
No, wait. She's left that wife. They toast to new life, and Genevieve toasts to her new family. Oh, isn't everything just miraculously perfect all of a sudden? Wow. Terrence drops Frankie off at their new house because, of course, he has a nice new house in the suburbs, despite being a crackhead like three
Maybe
scenes
he always
ago.
had the house. We never saw his house.
That's
Maybe
true,
he
I
always had
guess.
this house.
Maybe. He heads off to work the night shift, but first he needs to make a quick pit stop at the Gators Retreat. We see literally the same scene from the first trip to the Gators Repeat play out. Same girl comes out with a guy. Terrence follows them to the same parking lot. Hell, even the same parking spot.
I thought it was a different girl.
Yeah, I thought it was.
It's the same girl. It's the same girl. Why pay for two lighting setups when you can just film the same scene twice in a row? I mean, okay. I'm not like, I'm like 95% sure it's the same girl.
Pretty sure they're different. Unless you looked at them side by side, which I didn't. But
I was like, looked exactly the same. Well, they parked in the same parking spot and had the exact same situation going
blocking,
on.
Same everything.
Yeah.
Film it the exact same. They probably just shot the scenes back to back.
Pretty sure, yeah. I'm pretty sure Terrence even looks exactly the same. Like, wearing the same clothes, got the same look on his face. He shakes them down exactly the same way as the first time, but we cut before he can smoke crack and bang the girl or whatever. We cut to Terrence in a hotel with a huge bag of Coke next to him. So I guess she had a lot of Coke in her purse. Or is this implying that he went off the rails at that point and now he's back on the drugs, and we cut to the future and now he's at an impasse again? I don't know.
I thought it was implying he never stopped and he still just had a shitload of drugs and was still doing this.
You know how people snort Coke from big, huge Ziploc bags? People bring those to the club and stuff. It's always like little things, like the vial that he has earlier and stuff, not Ziploc bags full of cocaine. He's busy putting lines together, and you guys aren't going to believe this. It's crazy, but who do you think walks in the door but the guy Terrence saved at the beginning of the film? Yep. Dude works at the hotel Terrence went to do drugs and accidentally brings room service to the wrong room. What a fucking crazy coincidence. That's amazing. Life really is funny sometimes, you know? People are always delivering room service to the wrong room and opening the door without the person letting them in.
They just come in.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess I got the wrong room. Cheers now.
Okay. I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Oh, what's that? You doing some Coke? Cool.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Here's your lobster thermidor.
Are you going to cook with that flour? That looks like flour in a huge baggie there. Oh. Is that baby powder?
Yeah. My balls are sweaty. Can I get some?
It's from having this gun in my thing all the time. It's hot,
It's hot.
Gun barrel gets hot.
It's a swamp. It's a swamp down there.
Chavez recognizes Terrence immediately and asks if he's still a cop. Terrence says, "Port of call, still New Orleans." That's the name of the movie. He asks what happened with Chavez, and he says he's been clean for a year. They break their sobriety and do lines together, then film some iguanas with their phones. No, Chavez asks if Terrence is all right, and he says, "Sometimes I have bad days." So Chavez takes him to the aquarium.
In the middle of the night.
In the middle of the night.
looks like it's closed, like they break into the aquarium.
Yep, that's how it ends.
God,
He takes him to the aquarium after Terrence asks if fish have dreams. They sit there in front of a tank for 2 solid minutes. Terrence smirks to himself a little bit, and then we cut 2 credits. The
He
end.
laughs like he just thought of G again.
That guy's
I
name
tell you,
was
there was
G.
a guy named G. That would have been I would have actually loved that. That was the
Man, Terrence really went off the rails, didn't he? He just needed like a hobby or something. You know, something to keep himself occupied that didn't involve losing huge sums of money or, you know, smoking crack. He seems to have a real fascination with lizards. I mean, maybe he could start like an online business selling iguanas or bearded dragons or something. I've got it. Terrence's Terrariums. Perfect. Thankfully, with Bluehost, Terrence can start his online business just like that. Bluehost is your one-stop shop for building the website of your dreams. They offer insanely affordable hosting starting at just $2.95 per month, a free domain for your first year, and they even have a website builder with beautiful pre-made themes if you're looking to keep things simple or just aren't super tech-savvy like our boy Terrence. Getting started is easy. Just click the link above or in the description. Not only are you getting a smoking deal on web hosting, you're helping to support our channel as well. Bluehost, everything your website needs from startup to success.
We have a Coppola questions before we move on.
Weren't there some stairs in that prison? I think we mentioned it, but
yeah,
like
Why
there
did he
was
have to jump
obviously
to a second
another
floor
way to
balcony?
get there.
Yeah. Maybe he thought, like, it's just water. I'll just jump into it. It's fine. Even though
Yeah.
you can see it was only like chest high water. But I mean, I guess that still should have been fine.
That should have been
He's
fine.
a tall guy, though.
Maybe there was a table like right below the surface of the
Yeah,
water.
that's true
or
too. You don't know
something.
what's down there if it's floodwaters. I mean, there could be so
Yeah.
much debris that got pushed in.
It's true. Or a railing or
It's
something.
like what
Or
they
a
say: if
railing.
you can't see below, don't jump into it.
Yeah.
You can't tell what's down there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But like there should have been a stairwell that he could have gotten to. He's going to get wet no
Yes.
matter what. So
Yeah.
There's no time. I gotta jump.
I mean, the flood waters they said that it was still coming. This was like while Katrina, that aftermath where everything was happening.
Yeah, they're still rising. They're still rising.
That's also why they're in the precinct, is because they're getting these incriminating photos while nobody else is looking. And I think that's why he gets accommodated later on, is because he came back to rescue somebody in the middle of the flood, which he wasn't there to rescue him at all. He was there just for those photos, which never come back.
Right.
Right. Did no one tell Nicolas Cage that cops don't carry their gun like that?
I'm sure they
do in the old
thought this would be
noir
cool.
movies.
I'm doing it.
They do it in the old noir movies.
Yeah.
As he would probably say it.
Yeah. And that's a cop would never hold their gun like that. Like he's just
Especially
asking
not
to
a
blow off
revolver.
his dick,
Like, do revolvers have safeties?
No, they don't.
It takes quite a bit of pressure.
It does.
Those triggers are stiffer, but you like it.
Treat every gun like it's
disadvantage as a
loaded.
cop.
Treat every gun like it's always going to shoot, basically, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's not like
Yeah.
gun safety 101. Don't point at anything you don't want to destroy,
Yeah, I
including
mean,
your own cock.
People appendix carry all the time, but you typically have a holster that hides the trigger well, so that you
Right.
don't accidentally grab or touch the trigger as you're drawing your
It,
weapon.
it also
Yeah.
covers the hammer, so you can't accidentally cock the hammer back, right?
Yeah.
It depends. It depends on the pistol and then the type of mine. It doesn't cover. It just covers the
trigger?
up into the butt of up into the butt of the pistol, so I can grab the hand and handle and pull it out, or hand grip and pull it out. But the trigger is covered, so there's no way I could accidentally touch the fucking trigger and blow my balls off as I'm drawing. But it just doesn't make sense as to why you would A, have that particular pistol, and B, carry it like a lunatic.
It also doesn't seem comfortable in the slightest.
No, it wouldn't be.
I think it was an homage to the original Bad Lieutenant because he had a 44 Magnum, but he had his in a holster the whole time.
Yeah.
You know, like a cop.
I feel like he would get that front sight stuck on something as he's trying to draw it out too.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing about the holsters is they're designed to clear the firearm efficiently.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And to where you can't grab the trigger as you're pulling it out.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
Have to just grab the butt of the gun.
Yeah. And he's coked out of his mind or fucking heroin out of his mind. He's seriously just like one mistake away from just blasting his nuts into the fucking floor.
And you don't think like his boss wouldn't tell him to not carry the gun like that, you know, like or write him up or something? Yeah, but still.
I'm thinking that was a Werner Herzog thing, or maybe it was Nicolas Cage.
It feels like
it just seems so weird. Like, why would you hold your gun like that?
Just to show that the character's not mentally sound.
Yeah.
Or doesn't have everything under control.
Yeah. He's the best detective they have. So they knew that the guy Terrence shook down was with a prostitute, but because his dad was connected, they still made a case out of it.
Yeah,
just left that part out. I guess
the guy's already got internal affairs or whatever in his pocket, you know, to control him, to investigate this guy. So they're probably not going to investigate his son for banging a hooker and beating her up.
Yeah, they probably omitted that. It was just police brutality, but he barely touched him. Barely. I mean, they like threw him against the wall, and then he like spun him around and kind of threw him against another wall.
I think it was more about taking his money.
Yeah. Stealing him. Stealing from him.
Okay. Disrespecting him.
Robbing him. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah. And then my last one is no one heard the gunshot when Terrence was banging that guy's girlfriend in the parking lot.
That one is the easiest question to clean up. New Orleans. Post-Katrina. Not a fucking thing was thought.
I guess.
Yeah, it's just as fucking normal now. People just
shoot everyday life
in this
now.
lawless land.
Yeah. What the hell's up with the real estate deal that he was working out with Big Fate? Like, why was that in the movie? Like, to show that he was like slipping into a life of crime, like to help these guys develop land so that they could use it as safe houses or something. I don't understand. Or was it to show like Big Fate was trying to go legit with his money and become a real estate
I just wonder
mogul?
if it was just like they were told to talk about, you know, because it was improv most likely, based on what they were saying in the quick facts there. So maybe it was just like, okay, talk about something innocuous while something terrible is happening in the background. And then they just started looking around. They're like, oh, this would be a great spot to
build some
condos.
Yeah. Good with a lot of money.
Based on my experience, I've been to New Orleans quite a few times. I've actually spent a lot of time in New Orleans. That would be a terrible place to put condos because of the flooding that just constantly happens.
It just happened. And you're like, I don't want to build condos here.
Yeah, cheap land.
A good spot. We'll put condos, but they'll be on those poles.
Sticks.
Those sticks above the water.
What are the odds that it floods twice? Come on.
It floods like every year. The river overflows.
They're built below the dike
they're
level
below
or whatever.
sea level, yeah.
They're in a swamp.
Yeah.
I mean, just the Mississippi in general is always like a heavy rainstorm will cause flooding all up and down the Mississippi.
Yeah, you got the Mississippi, then you have the Gulf pushing up against you too. You're already built below sea level, so why not build there?
It's a lot like Vegas. Heard, it's like the nature is telling you shouldn't settle there, but they do it anyway.
In Vegas?
Yeah, like they live in the middle of the desert. It has nothing to do with water, but like
it works.
Yeah,
it's like the living opposite, in the middle of the desert. Yeah, it's just like you shouldn't live there.
Or Venice, where it's
just goes in there.
It floods constantly in Venice all the time too because they're in the ocean. But yeah, it seems like post Katrina, those the systems that they put in place are actually working pretty well for New Orleans. But it still doesn't stop. That was like downriver a little bit, and
that's right on the shoreline. But you're talking about like they still haven't done anything to fix the. I don't believe they've done anything to fix the flooding from the river.
Yeah,
to the best of my knowledge.
So they've shored up the seawall or whatever.
Yeah,
to keep the
that's
Gulf
what.
from
Yeah, that's what
flowing
caused.
again.
That's what caused the major flooding. Is the seawall failed.
Yeah, but the river still overflows.
Which funny tie-in. Kanye, or as I like to call him, Ye, is connected to Katrina as well. We'll just leave it at that. Google it.
Just Google
go
it.
Go to yahoo.com and Google it.
I still remember seeing that live.
I did too.
I could still remember
the look on Mike Myers' face. Like,
yeah. I was like, what?
At the producers and
What just happened?
Right.
It just goes into Dr. Evil.
And my other one was, wouldn't Terrence's DNA and fingerprints also be all over the crack pipe that he planted at the scene? That's the other
100%.
You know, crime labs don't just check for one person's DNA on it. They sample all the DNA that's on stuff.
Hey, so the guy who told you about this crack pipe maybe being there, he never actually touched it, right? Because we just have it in this evidence bag here that you got at the crime scene last night. Terrence's fingerprints are all over this thing. And his DNA, because he was also smoking this crack pipe.
That was my other big one. It's just like, wait a minute, this whole thing's predicated on this crack pipe that is just as much of his DNA and fingerprints on it.
That's why I'm saying, like, none of this is logically possible in a lot of different ways here, of it all just happening all at once. And it could also explain away, like, him winning $10,000 on that bet that he bet the opposite on. I mean, I almost wonder that, like, was he shot when they shot the soul of that guy? Because you hear that gunshot go off, and then from there on out, everything goes perfect for him. Aside from him snorting,
except from coming home and then seeing that he was the game was gonna, he was gonna lose the bet.
Yeah,
which you could also explain away why Genevieve is suddenly fine with him doing drugs in her house.
Yeah,
true.
It's time for the trackers.
Nigel, why don't you hit us with the curse tracker?
Okay, so this movie had 60 curses, which is the most of any movie we reviewed so far.
Dang.
Wow.
Next highest is Vampire's Kiss with 47. So this had more than
a lot more.
Kiss. Yeah, it was a real fun tracking this one. So anyway, I'll get into it. So 1 use of hell, 10 uses of shit, although I'll give honorable mentions to his creative uses of shit, because we had 1 shit bird, 1 shit turd, and 1 chicken shit. But I counted those as shit because I didn't want to make separate entries for those.
Yeah.
Isn't shit turd just the same thing?
Yeah, he says it at the beginning. I think shit bird and shit turd are both when they're talking about Chavez at the beginning. Yeah. And then I can't remember where chicken shit came in. So yeah, 1 use of ass and 1 use of asshole. 5 uses of bullshit. 1 cunt, which is the second movie we've watched that has cunt. The other one was Vampire's Kiss 5 times.
Yeah.
So
where is that little cunt?
That is one of the fewest used swear words, aside from like ass. But that, and again, this has the most uses of fuck out of any of the movies we've watched, with 41.
Holy shit.
Which I just had to give it its own line as I was tracking.
Wow.
Because
wow.
I had no idea how many he was going to go with.
Is this the most, is this the most shits?
Let's see. Yes, 10 uses of shit is the most. Next highest is 6 in Trapped in Paradise. No, 7 in Dog Eat Dog.
Okay.
But yeah, 41 fucks in Bad Lieutenant. The next highest is 35 from The Weatherman. And then 34 from Deadfall.
Dang. Dang.
So Bad Lieutenant is a potty mouth.
What's our grand total?
So with that movie, again, we had a total of 60. Our grand total is now up to 371 curses.
Damn.
71. Holy shit. Runtime. This is now the third longest movie that we've done behind Face Off and National Treasure. Hour and 22 minutes. And again, I feel like they could have trimmed quite a few things. A lot of stuff that just didn't feel 100% necessary. But I don't know how, but I didn't really like have any rhyme or reason as I was picking the movies that we're doing in season 2, aside from like, I try and jump around decades. So, do like one from the 80s, a couple from the 90s, a couple from 2000, and so on and so forth. I definitely didn't choose the 3 longest movies as our first 4 movies that we've done.
You said it was an hour and 22 minutes?
Hour and 22, or 122 minutes, sorry.
So, it's 2 hours.
2 hours.
2 hours and 2 minutes, yeah.
I was like, that sounds way too short. Okay, because I remember I had to keep checking it.
Yeah.
2 hours and 2 minutes long.
Crazy long. Our previous longest movie from season 1 was Bringing Out the Dead, which was 121 minutes. And Mandy was also 121 minutes. Nudity, I count it. So when they're looking through the pictures, most of it is not nude. They're just revealing. But there is one where her breast, you could see her nipple on the side. So I said one breast in that picture. Mm-hmm. Which, like, if we really go back to Dog Eat Dog, if we were to eliminate nudity that was shown by like the characters in pictures or a computer, we only have like a couple of breasts that we've done through the whole thing. But with this picture, that brings us up to 21 total female breasts. We also had the girl that he smokes crack with and bangs in the parking lot with her ass. So that's 2 female asses that we've had so far. So that goes along with 4 male asses. Our man to female ratio is not ideal at the moment. Well, I guess it is for some female listeners. Might be totally cool to hold that Michael Bean ass. State and country tracker. We were again in Louisiana. This is our second time in Louisiana since Grand Isle. But we went to Mississippi briefly to Biloxi. So that brings us up to 14 total states at this point. And then 4 countries, which I still don't know how to really put the Arctic Circle. But it's definitely not the United States. But Arctic Circle, U.S., Romania, and Kenya, thanks to Dying in the Light. Our budget was $25 million, and it made $10 million, so significant losses here. So that is a grand total now of $555.5 million on a budget, and then we've made $1.193 billion. Pretty crazy. So on our list of top grossing, this is kind of right in the middle at 10.6. Just behind Bringing Out the Dead made 16.8, and then sandwiched there is Trapped in Paradise, which made $8 million. Ratings, this did get a rating. It was an R. So that brings us up to 8 total. So we've had 0 Gs, 1 PG, 5 PG-13s, and 5 unrated, and then 8 R-rated. So I think that's a trend that's going to continue. As I was wondering there for a minute, because we had so many unrated films, if we were going to end up with more unrated films than R-rated. But I think R-rated is going to end up winning out when you look through Cage's catalog. Mm-hmm. Hey, we should start that, Cage's catalog. Maybe that's what we could call the trackers. We call it Cage's catalog.
Cage's catalogs.
The kill tracker.
All right. I'm disappointed to announce there are no fucking kills by Nicolas Cage in this film.
Yeah, not even the old lady.
Not even the old lady. I thought, he's finally going to do it. No, he lets her live.
He did kill that monkey. He threw that monkey to the ground. Definitely died.
You mean the one with the GoPro? Right? The actual, like, real life animal that they strapped the GoPro to.
That they used to film dangerous things like an alligator up close.
They're like, this is too dangerous for a person. Let's get that monkey from Friends.
I saw how they actually filmed that. They had like a stick with the camera on the end of it, and it was
thank God.
It was basically like a GoPro with a
selfie stick.
And he just sticks it right up next to the alligator's face, and it keeps hissing at him and shit. Like,
Oh fuck!
Like he was so insistent in putting that in the film.
Yeah.
I will quit filmmaking if they take away my iguanas.
Deaths, no deaths. I was really kind of hoping that he either OD'd or, like he said, ended up getting shot in that big fight, but sadly not. So it was kind of a dud for kills and deaths in this one.
Yeah. Well, you can't win them all.
Unless you're Terrence McDonagh, then you win everything.
Then you just suddenly win everything. Yeah. I mean, he's just gonna go right back to being a fucking loser. That's the moral of this. Is like, you don't just automatically just magically come out of something like what he's going through, especially with how like cavalier he was with it. I guess that leads us into our next category.
So what did you think? Let's rank this film on the Cageometer.
Vince, where does Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans rate on your Cageometer? By the way, the original one is called The Bad Lieutenant, which I think the working draft name was The Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans. That's me with like Michael Scott's like, some companies still know how to.
All right. So movie, I really enjoyed the movie up until the ending. There were parts that I felt dragged on. I just felt like there were some scenes that we've already talked about that didn't really add a lot of value. It just ended up making the film feel like it was dragging, and it could have been a little bit tighter, but overall not bad. Still pretty decent story and whatnot. I was enjoying just how kind of chaotic some of the scenes between Cage and the drug dealers were. But then the fucking ending happened, and it was like the most cheesy, shoehorned ending, and it really let me down by them not like clearly saying or not killing him. I mean, maybe he is dead, like you said. Maybe this whole thing is just a hallucination as he's dying, but that's not clear if it is. So yeah. I can't say that it is. We talked about it. I think they did a test screening, it tested poorly, and they rewrote the ending and shoehorned this bullshit in. Better than
I could also see Werner Herzog being like, I don't like that it ends badly. Let's make sure things end well for this. And the guy was like, well, did you see the original Bad Lieutenant? And he's like, what the hell is that movie?
So all that being said, right, like as awful as this ending was, still better than the ending of Dark, which is saying much.
Yeah.
So I can't be an ass and give it anything close to that. So I honestly would have given this probably a 7 if it weren't for that ending. But because that ending has knocked it down to a 5 for me. I don't think it was an awful film. Definitely not the worst film we've watched. But that ending really ruined what I thought could have been a little more fulfilling,
like a moral to the story,
Right. Yeah.
Like you could just fuck up your life nonstop for the entire duration of the film, and just everything just works out for you. That's not how life.
Yeah. So as far as Cage, he had some very cagey moments. He couldn't fucking decide whether he wanted. It appeared like he couldn't decide whether he wanted to stick with the accent or not. Having talked with you guys more, I think you're right. He probably did pick and choose when the accent came in based off of certain things that were going on. Mm-hmm. So I'll give him a 6. I thought his physicality in this movie really kind of swayed me to go a little bit higher than I probably would have if it hadn't been for that. Just because I really felt like as he's devolving and getting more and more into the drugs, you start seeing it transform on his body between we talked about, he gets hunched more, he becomes very stiff, he's limping, he has those little subtle cues where if he moves a certain way, he expresses some discomfort. Yeah. And then even like you said, you brought up a good point, like the numbing of the heroin is probably why he did start having that accent. So I really feel like he put some thought into the character and how he wanted to perform. Cagey as fuck at times. His ad-libbing, definitely them letting him just ad-lib stuff really let him go off the rails, but I'll put that on the director and not so much on him. So yeah,
can I get my prescription, please?
So yeah, I'll give him 6 out of 10. I there were times where I forgot it was him, and then there were other times where I was like, oh yeah, this is definitely Nick Cage on screen. So a 5 and a 6, respectively.
Nigel,
Yo,
where do you put this on your Cageometer?
Sorry, I always jump right in. I feel much the same as Vince does. In fact, I'm gonna kind of give the same ratings except scaled up a little bit more because I was actually really enjoying this movie. As it did feel kind of slow. It felt overly long. We mentioned like some of the scenes just seemed pointless, but it seemed to work for me really well. Like the way that those scenes were included in the movie just kind of fit what he was going for with this movie. It kind of feels like he's trying to go for a realistic take of stuff. So you kind of have little slice of life interactions with this. I don't know if this is necessarily a character study of the main character, but seeing little facets of how he reacts to things in his life. Once I kind of jumped on board with that, I was really enjoying it. And I actually really liked seeing things start to go really wrong for him. Like just see how much of a shitbag he is. And having all these bad decisions start to catch up with him and just sort of snowball. And I was really enjoying that buildup, but then the ending of the movie had to come and basically undo all of that. And it's completely unrealistic. And I don't know if it's, I don't want to be like, oh, I was expecting them to do this and they didn't do it, so I didn't like it that much. But it really feels like the movie took a complete tonal shift that is counter to what it was trying to establish with this sort of realistic, story of what happens if your life spirals out of control and you're a dirtbag. But it just magically all worked out for him. And then, I guess they sort of tacked on like, well, maybe, he's back. He fell off the wagon again, or he never actually quit and whatever. He's still doing bad stuff. So it's just going to be a cycle that's going to repeat until it ultimately goes wrong for him. But I would have wished we would have just seen that go wrong for him in the movie and have it end with him getting shot or something, or losing his job, or who knows, whatever. Some kind of consequence for his actions instead of having everything just work out for him. So as I was watching it, I was thinking like this movie is an easy, well, not easy, but eventually like an 8 out of 10 for me. But with that ending, it drops it down to a 6 because it sort of, I enjoyed a majority of the movie, but I think it just sort of fell down on itself at the end there and was really like, what was the point? Like you do this really good job of crafting this realistic feeling story of this guy and seeing all of his, how his actions lead to his downfall. And then the downfall doesn't happen. It just, everything works out great for him in literally one scene. Like it's like you said, it felt like a cartoon. Like his boss is like, hey, we got the guy, and
it was so cheesy.
And it's bookie just like, hey, look, here's all the money you won. Like spreading out $10,000 of like fresh bills for him, and like
right in front of the fucking cops in the station.
It was like the ending of a comedy, Yeah, and the guy going, whoa, we're cool, man. We cool, right?
Man.
Yeah.
Cool.
Like, it felt like something on a Naked Gun. Like,
you expected OJ to pop up.
I think Werner actually said that he kind of intended it to be sort of a comedy. And I'm like,
okay.
You took Bad Lieutenant and made it into a comedy?
Well, to be fair, he never saw the first one, so.
I mean, that kind of
it's
feels
always
like
best
a Werner
if you've
Herzog
never
movie. Like,
seen a movie. Name your movie after it. Fuck.
This does seem like, the kind of comedy Werner Herzog would make, I guess, where it's
hilarious.
It's funny, and maybe that's the comedy is like, comedy is the unexpected. So maybe like, oh, you didn't expect that. Everything worked out fine for him.
I guess.
But it just kind of feels like the rest of the movie was a waste then. Like, what was the point of us watching him do all this horrible shit, in a not feel good story to just have it end on sort of a feel good note, I guess, even if it's completely unrealistic. So yeah, I'll give it a 6 out of 10 because of that. If it had not done that and we'd seen some kind of consequence for his actions, or at least not had a completely out of left field, like happenstance meeting with the guy from the beginning of the movie who then takes him to the aquarium and they, might as well just fucking gone out for ice cream or something, and like it would have been an 8 out of 10 for me. But, much like with Dark, the ending just sort of craps over the rest of the movie and then ruins it and leaves it on a sour note,
Yeah.
And again, it does feel like it really, to me, it felt like a test screening happened. Audiences didn't like how down the movie was, and so they reshot an ending, and if that's not what happened, that's what it feels like, which is just as bad. If it's like it feels that jarring.
I think that was one of the big complaints with the original Bad Lieutenant from audiences was like, this is such a nihilistic, like dark, unnecessarily dark film, and you just like we follow around this guy, watching him ruin his life for the whole movie, and then he does something kind of good, and then he dies, right after doing something good. And I think maybe that was some of the impetus for creating a happy ending of this. I feel like there has to be a dark ending of this somewhere on a cutting room floor.
Or even if it was on paper, like was it in the script that's did it end this way in the script? Does that fall on the scriptwriter, or does it fall on the studio requiring an ending? A happier ending, or does it fall on?
I wonder if it was the producers,
funny ending,
or maybe it
I
was
guess we
like.
don't know.
Maybe it was like Dog Eat Dog, where they just ran out of time and they were like, "Well, we got to wrap it all up."
Could be,
maybe. But I can see why the original director of the original Bad Lieutenant was like, "Hope these guys all fucking die in a fire." Like they didn't get what we did with that first movie. They didn't get the point of it. Which I feel like there's an importance to those kind of stories. Tell dark stories, but have a meaning behind it. Like,
there's a strong moral to Bad Lieutenant. There is not a strong moral to Bad Lieutenant. Port of Call, New Orleans.
Right.
So again, like you said, even if it was an ending where like he OD'd or something, and this was all in his head, and then they just sort of make it clear that he died, and his life turned out shit in the end, and that's what happens when you get involved with this kind of crap. As for Cage himself, I really enjoyed his performance, except for the things we pointed out with the accent. That's really what bugged me, and I don't know what they were going for with it. Like in the moment, it really took me out of it. Like again, I was second guessing myself. Like, did he always do this? Was I just missing it, or does this accent just come and go? And even if it was, trying to put on the slurred speech of having your mouth numb, like you can do that, I think, without having a weird, whatever they called that, the North Atlantic accent, transatlantic accent they all had in the 40s, whatever. Like he didn't have to throw that on there, Again, it was an enjoyable performance for me, so I'll give it a 7 out of 10 because I think he did really well in the physical aspects of things. Like we pointed out, you can tell as the movie goes on, he's getting more and more strung out and more tired and in more pain, and then it's just sort of compounds with doing more and more drugs. And the moments when he does drugs kind of feels like he's actually doing them, especially the crack pipe scene when he's like fucking laughing like a maniac and going off with Big Phaeton and the boys. And when he like just yells at the old ladies and stuff, which again we said was unscripted stuff, but to that detriment, some of that stuff kind of comes out of left field and feels out of character for the character that he was playing for the rest of the movie. So I think it can kind of hamper the performance. It wasn't a full, it's not like it's a 9 or a 10 out of 10 where you can believe this is the same character working through this story realistically. There's parts where it kind of pulls you out of it and kind of ruins the illusion and feels like, oh, okay, they just let him go Nicolas Cage for the sake of going Nicolas Cage in this because it's maybe because it's funny, or because Werner Herzog wanted to do it because it thought it was a comedy, or because we just wanted to show him become unhinged. But it just kind of feels a little bit out of character for this character, who I think he did a really good job playing through most of the movie. It was a believable scumbag.
Yeah.
It's that thing with Werner Herzog saying that he wanted to turn it over to the genius of Cage, Yeah. And
which we've mentioned it before.
I think some of those Cagiest moments are like, could have reined him in a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah, and we've mentioned that before on the show. Like the good directors can do that. They can pull him in, a little bit instead of just letting him take off and do it, because as good of an actor as he is, actors don't always have the best ideas for what a character should be doing, and don't play it up in a way that's consistent. It's a director's job to make sure that's a consistent performance throughout the rest of the film, because they're shooting things out of order and whatever. So I think just letting him take the reins off definitely led to some memorable moments, but kind of impacted the overall performance if you take it on as a whole.
Yeah,
I mean, ultimately, he's Cage is just a paintbrush for the director to paint whatever masterpiece they want to put together. So it's like it's kind of your job to figure out how to make him give you the performance that you want. But in this movie, it really felt like, I don't know, maybe it was just for authenticity or what, but like he just kind of let Cage do his thing in certain moments, and in other moments he's very subdued. And I think it was to show like when he's high and when he's not high. He's off the rails when he's high.
Yeah.
I guess I'll jump in with mine. So I will echo exactly what you guys said. I feel like the movie was a 7 for me until the ending. And I feel the same way, where it's just like, what were they trying to tell us with that ending? Like, what was the moral to this whole thing? Like, just be a bad person for, 6 months straight, and then, and steal evidence and frame people and try and coerce a kid to not fucking do his best in a football game so that you can win some money. And like, it's fucking crazy. I wonder how often that happens, because that was not a huge sum of money. Like $5,000 is not a huge sum of money, and he's like shaking down this kid for like a little bit of weed. And like, I wonder how often, somebody loses $100,000 on a game and they're desperate as hell, so they track down this kid and fucking try and get him to throw the game and stuff. Like, but like, what? Yeah. So what were they trying to tell me with this movie? That suddenly things will just work out just perfectly for you if you're a piece of shit for 6 months straight, and then you'll be promoted to captain, and you'll get this beautiful wife and get a house, and it just
like
felt
not every
so,
movie needs the Hollywood ending,
Yeah. It felt so forced, and like you said, I feel like it was forced upon them in some way, or it was Werner Herzog being Werner Herzog and just being like, well, I want a happy ending, so we're going to put a happy ending in this. And I don't know. But maybe he read the script and was like, oh, this is a really down ending. Let's give him a happy ending to this thing. But that also showed that he still deals with addiction sometimes.
He's still a bad guy, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he still has his moments. But he's such a good guy because he read that poem, and the poem said, did he wash me when I'm sleeping? And then he wonders if fish can dream.
Like, is it a metaphor? Like he feels like he's a fish trapped in a little cup, you can't get out of it. You could have done something with that in the movie,
Yeah.
But to bring it up at the end and make you go, oh, wait, that was really supposed to be a profound impact on this guy and this story.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's kind of like, for me, this movie was like, you had a pretty good, like, breakaway dunk, and then you just decided to be too fancy at the end and you missed it completely and it bounced off the rim and everybody laughed at you. So I gave it a 5, which might be harsh. I feel like it's a pretty solid movie just until that ending. And I'm sure there's some people who were really happy with that ending because they didn't want to see it end badly for him. And maybe you started to feel for him over the course of the film, but I didn't. I thought he was a bad person through the whole movie, and we shouldn't feel good for him in the end.
It really felt like that was the point. Like he's not a sympathetic character.
Yeah. As far as Cage, I will echo a lot of the things that you guys said. I always feel like when I go last, I'm kind of like, like just saying the same stuff. But
we could change it up.
Yeah, we
I just I'm gonna go with a 6 on that because I feel like his physicality was amazing. The things that I feel like knock it down from a better rating are the same things that you said, with the weird voice, which I do think that he was intentionally trying to make it seem like his mouth was numb, and that's just how he talks, and that's how he talks. But he also kind of puts on a thing, like he talks different when he's when he's talking like that. But maybe it's just because he's high. I don't know. But I don't know what they were going for there. And then the super cagey moments were some of my favorite moments in the whole film. So I can't knock him down because of those, because I love them so much. And those are the things I'm going to come back to watch later on and be like, oh, remember when he stuck a gun in that old lady's face and screamed at them and said, oh, you fucks, I hope you die. That's the stuff that's like, I will remember that. I'm not going to remember any of the serious moments through this film. Him high on crack, laughing like a fucking lunatic and talking about a naked elk jumping over shit. And like,
man.
Those are the moments I'm going to be searching up on YouTube later on. Like 5 years from now, being like
you'll see those in the highlight reel of Nick Cage moments, not everything else in this performance.
Yeah, exactly. So I do feel like he did a really great job making me believe that this guy was, because he said he never took drugs or anything like that throughout this film. Everything was completely from him. So the sweatiness, the way he's moving, his hunched over back, his just demeanor and in general was all from him. And I think he did an amazing job with that. And he also, like the glassy eyes, I don't know if he put in contacts, but you can definitely tell in certain points where his eyes are just really glassy, and maybe it went back to what he did in Deadfall, where he wore those contacts in that, which he also brought that to his character in that. So I definitely feel like Nick Cage has spent some time around drug addicts throughout his life and knows exactly how they act. I mean, being an actor in the types of films that he's acted in throughout his career, I definitely can see he's probably had a lot of firsthand experiences, not just from making the movies and studying drug addicts, but like actually just having drug addicts walk up to him on the street. Cause they're like, you're just like me, man. You're crazy, but yeah, I thought he did an amazing job capturing that. But like I said, there are a few things that knock him down a few pegs. So 6 out of 10.
Here it is, the moment you've all been waiting for. These are the cagiest moments of the film.
I don't give a shit, Armand. You tell him to take a fucking break.
She crazy. They don't pay me.
Excuse me, could you tell me how much longer that's gonna be? Hello, miss. I'm a lieutenant in the police department. I'm in the middle of a homicide investigation. Can I get my prescription, please?
Hey, listen, I'm not worried about you, so don't be concerned about me. Because I'm not concerned if you're not concerned, so don't worry, because I'm not really concerned.
Aw, it's okay, baby. You fucks, I hate you. I hate you both. I should fucking both. Just right now, I should fucking kill you fucking both!
What'd I do?
You bought dope. I want you to buy dope. Now stand the fuck up.
Kill all of you. To the break of dawn. To the break of dawn, baby.
Sup?
No, don't talk to me about no.
What the fuck's that?
It's my lucky crack pipe.
You a crazy motherfucker.
You don't have a lucky crack pipe?
No.
I was watching TV, the game, right? Ronaldo Hayes, he got tossed the ball and he was running with it. He was running. He jumped over 3 linebackers in midair. He sprouted antlers like a gazelle, like an elk. He landed again, he ran. He scored a touchdown.
That's the crack talking.
You understand?
Easy, because I'm not easy to eat.
That's it for this episode of One Cage at a Time. As always, be sure to drop us an email at onecagepodcast@gmail.com to let us know if we missed anything or hit us up with suggestions to improve the show, comments, compliments, or simply to gush about the legend that is Nicolas Cage. Our next film is one of the movies I've been looking forward to most this season, Joe. In this critically acclaimed coming-of-age thriller, Nicolas Cage delivers an incredible performance as a lumber boss who becomes an unlikely role model for a young member of his crew. But when he finds out that the boy's father is abusing him, he has to decide whether or not to get involved and embrace the darker parts of his past. Directed by one of my personal favorites, David Gordon Green, who he's also done, he did this movie called Prince Avalanche, where he worked with Explosions in the Sky, which is this indie rock band that I love, and they came to him with the story and they put it together. He did 2 movies with them, and then he also has worked with He did Pineapple Express, and he did a couple of other like comedies and stuff. So it's weird. Like he goes from these very, very serious kind of stories to comedies, and Joe is like it's very, very serious. So we won't be able to be quite as jokey as we normally are, but we'll find a way. It was a box office flop, but was heralded as a satisfying return to form for Nicolas Cage, and is the character that Nick said represents who he is in actual life outside of films and stuff. So,
Jesus,
it's a very uncagey performance. Very, not, he never goes unhinged really, and it's actually I'm gonna have a hell of a time finding cagey moments for this film because he's so even keeled through the whole thing. Wow. Make sure to check it out wherever fine films are sold or on your streaming service of choice. Until then, we'll say goodbye the way we do each and every episode with our Nicolas Cage quote of the film.
What are these fucking iguanas doing on my coffee table?
Thanks for listening to One Cage at a Time. Visit us online at onecageatatime.com or follow us on the social media platform of your choice for more Nicolas Cage goodness. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you really like the show, become a member of our Patreon where you can download unedited and ad-free episodes as well as listen to our follow-up show, Back Into the Cage, where we re-examine each movie to discuss what we missed the first time around, answer listener questions, and wax poetic about the man, the myth, the legend that is Nicolas Cage.